Oh my god, Hopi, what are you doing? Alright. Yeah, so 2020 is not going to plan, and one of the things not going to plan is my tripod is a little bit broken, which is just great, isn't it? So yeah, I've done my best, but yeah, no, oh, what a pain. And the other thing that could more severely impact the live stream is the NBN has been doing some work around here, and so like the other day the internet just completely dropped out for about half an hour, and yeah, I looked up our provider or whatever, and they didn't say anything was wrong, but then I went to the NBN website and they're like, actually we plan to do this and it could be going all week. So yeah, fun shit. Thanks for the heads up, guys. NBN is the National Broadband Network, for anyone who's outside Australia and hasn't heard of it. It's Australia's attempt to catch up with internet speeds and all that, and it's a shambles. So we're okay. Our internet is not that terrible because I mean, we had cable before anyway, and they've just like gone from NBN into the cable, and it hasn't improved speeds at all. We're actually getting half the speed we used to get on cable. We did get that cable upgrade for free though, so that's download speeds. Actually, the upload speeds are about 4 times faster than what we had on cable, so that's good for me. The rest of the family doesn't really use that much internet. Like, they'll stream stuff, Netflix and so on, but no one else is uploading things. So for me as a YouTube nut job, yeah, having good uploads, that works for me. But yeah, no, the NBN, we didn't really need it in this area. I think most people in this area were doing okay for internet before the NBN came along. But yeah, so it may possibly drop out depending on what they're doing. The other thing is, I'm sorry about the lighting being weird, but it's raining today, so there's not a lot of good natural light coming in. Also, when I turn on the light, we've got like 4 lights here, but the one over there that would light me the best is broken, so it's just like being lit from the top, and it looked completely wrong, so I'm like, fuck it, I'll turn off all the lights. And just have the light from outside, and so that's why I look like kind of washed out, or I don't know, kind of pale. Everything looks kind of pale today. Anyway, so the other thing about rain is, I think this was more an issue when we were on copper internet, but occasionally when it rains, the internet gets shit too. So there's all kinds of things that could conspire to bring this live stream down, but we're here. It seems to be working. Cool. So yeah, no, oh my god. The reason this live stream's happening is because I had other plans to film. But yeah, no, didn't work out. So I've been filming some Punk Rave Australia reviews. One of them went fine. Another one, I got the wrong item, so I had to send a return. And so the next Punk Rave Australia video will be a very summary one. The one after that, we'll look at the returns process a bit, because I know some people would get anxious about that. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I was hoping it'd arrive in time for me to film the rest of it today, because I filmed half of it on Tuesday, but today, it didn't arrive. Australia Post, what can you do? Even when it's express, like express used to be next day delivery, and now I looked it up and actually it's 2 to 3 day delivery, whereas regular postage is 2 to 5 day delivery. So, and because of where I live, usually it comes as fast as possible. So I'm like, is there really any benefit to using express? But hey, whatever. Anyway, so I couldn't film that today, but I kicked out the family so I could have the place to myself just in case. And well, I can't film that, so I will live stream, and that's why I'm here. But yeah, no. Oh, that's the other thing I've got to tell you is one of my cousins is visiting from Japan, and she's actually arriving in a week earlier than we expected. So that's thrown out a lot of things and made me go, oh shit, I need to do stuff really quick. So yeah, the second Punk Rave video I'm working on, there's a good chance that will be delayed a lot, because I don't know when I'm going to get a chance to film. I'm going to be hanging with my cousin a lot. Yeah, so, you know, if she'd come when we were expecting her to come, then I could film it next week, and everything would get back on schedule and all that, but no, that's not what's happened. So yeah, but it is raining. She wants to do lots of like water-based stuff, but with the weather, if this rain sticks around, it's good that we have some rain, but not so good for doing outdoorsy stuff. So we'll have to think about that. But anyway, so point being, because my cousin's gonna be here, it doesn't just affect like my ability to film. It's also like, when am I gonna get a chance to edit all the stuff I already have filmed? Belinda Vlogs, hello from Brisbane. Ah, hello! Hello, and welcome to the chaos here. Yeah, no. So I don't know when all those other videos are gonna come out. I'll do my best to edit them. Obviously, I'm working on the Punk Rave Australia video first. Yeah. So yeah, it's just chaos. Everything's shifted up. On the upside, like, you know, she also leaves a week earlier, so then I can get back on top of things. But yeah, I really wanted to do heaps of stuff for YouTube this year. Like, if you guys remember when I was asking you your opinion on what kind of videos you want, I was like, yes, I'm totally gonna do all this stuff. But then things keep popping up, like having my foot injured and not being able to walk around, that really messed up the start of my year. And then also having the house warm up really badly and not being able to use my computer, because my new computer, like, it's really powerful, but I haven't checked, but I think because it's got more powerful components, it produces more heat, and it's also much better at venting the heat right into my room, right under my desk where I'm working. So yeah. Hey, Danny Armian. Yeah, I'm live. I did try to, like, I scheduled it this time, but I gave like only half a day's notice because, you know, that's just how it worked out with, you know, finding out when this package may or may not arrive. Yeah, so I tried to I gave a little bit of warning for this live stream, but yeah, I'm sorry again for it being such short notice. It's just like, yeah, 2020 is not going to plan, hence the title of this live stream. It's just, you know, so I got injured and I was on crutches, and that messed up a lot. And then the heat in the house. Actually, this summer has not been too bad, I gotta say. Maybe because of like all the bushfire smoke, you know, the sun doesn't get through as much to heat things up. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like it's been that hot. I mean, if we've had a few summers where this house got really hot, like we've got half the house is really old school, you know, double brick and whatever. The other half of the house is more modern construction, doesn't have as good insulation, and there's lots of big windows. So one side of the house tends to heat up more, but if the rest of the house heats up, because of the insulation, it's kind of hard to cool it down again. So once it heats up, that sucks. And yeah, we did have like a couple weeks where it really got bad, and you know, I think you guys remember last live stream, I've been sleeping out here. I finally went back into my room because like I just sleep better there. But yeah, I'm still a bit tired today as well. But no, I've been sleeping better. I've also been getting up earlier still though, so hey, whatever. Yeah, no, the all that heat as well, that really slowed me down. And then now with my cousin coming and with Punk Rave Australia, yeah, we are sort of aiming for 2 videos a month with that. So that means I'm doing more filming and more editing for that. And with that, I try to get that done as fast as I can, because obviously I'm working with them and I don't want them to be waiting ages for me to get my shit together. So yeah, it's just like stuff like that. I think I'm doing okay considering, like, usually the way my brain works, especially like some of you guys have been following me for like 10 years. You've seen some of like my brain farts when I get a little bit too stressed. I guess I had a bit of a gap as well, so maybe I haven't seen all of it. But when I get really stressed, like if I used to have a lot of plans about what I wanted to do with my life, and I think you guys remember I kept getting depressed. I think I started YouTube like therapy. You know, I was just, I knew I was about to get depressed. I think I started antidepressants or was just about to. And I think it's partly because like I'd have these plans for where I want my life to go, and it just wouldn't work out like that. Or I would be disappointed and so on, and just like stress about, oh shit, what am I going to do with my life? And then I'd, you know, go on a downward swing until I found a new plan and was like, this plan will work, and then just go on this constant cycle of having plans and having them shattered. And yeah, whereas at the moment I feel like I'm doing better. And I don't know exactly what I can put that down to, but there are a few things. So my last depression was the longest one, and I think I had to like sort through more of my issues. There was the element of biology which didn't help. Like that was more of a biological depression compared to some of the others, I think. Maybe just because I've been depressed so many times in my life. But I feel like I had to really like work on managing myself and my expectations. So there's that. I'm also like older and hopefully more mature. Um, and then I think also last year, Hello Scream, working the scare acting at Luna Park, I think that really helped me as well because it was such an unexpected thing. Like I didn't even think I would get the role, and then sort of getting my head around how things worked, and there were lots of things that didn't quite go how we thought they were going to go. You seem much happier since ditching Centrelink. Yes, that helped a lot when I was, the last time I was depressed. I ditched Centrelink, I got out of the country for a month, and I came back feeling much better, and that actually stuck. And I was kind of surprised that it did stick for so long. I do see it in my Facebook memories. So I recovered from depression in early 2018. And then when I look at my Facebook memories for this time of year, actually last year, around this time of year, I wasn't doing the greatest. Like I wasn't depressed, but I was feeling a bit existential and empty and so on. Whereas this year, I feel like I've started off 2020 reasonably well, despite all the setbacks. And I think part of it is this Hello Scream, you know, it was really stepping outside my comfort zone, and then, you know, we were expecting different things to happen, and it didn't always happen. And then when you're actually up to the acting part of things, when it opened and we're trying to, like, you know, you get all kinds of crowds through, people do unexpected things, react to you in unexpected ways, and you're constantly adapting to all that kind of stuff. Even though there were only 5 performance days, I feel like maybe that helped my brain sort of get the idea like, okay, if things don't go to plan, that's okay. You can just find a way to get around it. So I feel like maybe that helped in a big way because when I think about my mood, it does seem to have picked up since October, I reckon, when I was doing all that. And yeah, I've mostly been doing okay since then. I've felt a lot more positive. And like before that, so I recovered from depression in early 2018. And I had a little bit of a high when I came back, but then I sort of settled into a sort of neutral meh kind of feeling about life. Whereas since October last year, I feel like every now and then I feel like I feel good instead of just like neutral. Sometimes I feel good now, which is decent progress. I mean, I was depressed for the last one. I was depressed for more than 2 years. That's a long time to feel like that. So I think I've been on the recovery in the sense of getting my life back, in a sense. Like I've recovered from depression, but now I need to build up the rest of my life. But there's still challenges, you know. I still don't have the greatest independence. I'm still a mess in that sense. There are also, every now and then I like, you know, I worry about the future because things will change, and big things will change, and I'll have to figure out how to adapt to that. So yeah, that can be a bit scary, a bit concerning. And today I've been stressing about a little bit of that, and feeling a bit like, oh shit about my life. I felt a bit down as well this morning, I gotta admit, but I think part of that is also just being tired. When I'm tired, I tend to feel more of that, so that's something I have to keep an eye on, is like make sure I am getting enough sleep, because if I don't get enough sleep, I don't have the energy to get through all that. And also, like, I worked on Wednesday, so I didn't work last week, but I worked this week, and you know, like whenever I have a week break, it can be difficult to get into it again. In March, I'm gonna have two weeks off. I only work on the Wednesday, so when I say weeks, I mean just like one day in the week. But I don't think I could do more than once a week in bonsai, just because it is much more physically demanding for me. Like, I'm only small, and some of the bonsai can be quite big, and like you're trying to pull them out of pots and, you know, raking things and carrying them and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, maybe if I did it more, I would eventually get there, but also my boss doesn't need me more than once a week. So yeah, I just haven't built up to be able to do that. So always on a Wednesday, I come home, I feel really tired, and then Thursdays, I tend to be still recovering from it. Which makes me feel really weak, but you know, I like doing the bonsai job. It's a lot of fun. It just feels kind of zen. I just get away from technology for all the day, and just work with the plants. And yeah, it feels like the day goes really fast. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. But yeah, I do come out of it the next day really tired. And I guess today I'm still feeling a bit of that as well. Maybe because I've been stressing about whether or not that package would arrive today. It's like I don't have to film it. I don't have to film it today. Obviously, it didn't arrive, so I'm not. But I did, like, you know, I talked to Punk Rave Australia, and I'm like, here's what's happening in my life, so this might be delayed. And the manager's always really good, like, oh, don't worry about it, like, you know, you've got to spend time with your family and all this kind of stuff. And so yeah, I feel pretty positive. It's just, that's another thing, is my own expectations on myself can be quite big. I put a lot of pressure on myself, and sometimes, like, I'll externalize it and be like, okay, because of this thing, I have to do all this stuff. But really, when it comes down to it, I'm putting more expectation on myself than anyone else is, and sometimes it's just really hard to step back from that and be like, okay, you don't have to do everything, you don't have to do everything right now, you don't have to do everything perfectly. Yeah, I really need to get on top of that sometimes. Yeah, the personal expectations are the hardest. And I've been like that forever, like in school as well. There were like a couple of years, maybe I slacked off a bit, but most of the time I was like, I have to do really well on the thing. Yeah, and then what? Like, I got great marks at school, but I haven't actually done anything with my life, like with all that kind of stuff, because I keep getting stressed and depressed, and it's like, what am I going to do with myself? But actually, that's another thing that I've been a little bit anxious about lately, is just like, what am I going to do with my life? I mean, at the moment, I'm trying to go with the flow, trying not to worry too much about plans going out the window. Because, like, you know, even with, I have all these plans for YouTube, I don't want to let you guys down, but at the same time, you guys are also really quite forgiving. So yeah, that's like an example of me exaggerating the pressure on me. You know, just like, oh shit, I've got to make all these videos, but really everyone is quite, you know, patient with me, which is great. I'm the one who's impatient with me. So yeah, but no, what am I going to do with my life? Because the situation I'm in now, I think one of the reasons my mental health is okay is because my situation is reasonably stable and I'm well supported and all that. But life changes, and yeah, I get a little bit anxious about that sometimes. Like, what am I going to do for a living? Because I have 2 casual jobs at the moment, but like, it wouldn't pay rent if I had to do that. So yeah, and I like, you know, if I had to go back to Centrelink, fuck, you know, I could probably qualify for Centrelink still if I asked for it, but I can't survive through all their stupid requirements and all that bullshit, the bureaucracy and just the terrible policies and all that. Yeah, I don't know, and I think if I ended up in that situation again, it'd be very easy to destabilize me, actually. Which is frustrating to have to recognize about myself, that I am that kind of person who could be derailed by the situation like that. You know, there's some amazing people out there who have all kinds of terrible shit happen in their lives, and they're just constantly battered by the world. And somehow they have this determination to just get through it, make the most of it, and some of them even become quite successful once they've gotten through it. And I'm just like, I don't know how you do that. I don't have whatever it is that they have, and it's frustrating. I'm thinking of ditching Centrelink too. They just cause too much stress for people. Yeah, I mean, the thing for me with Centrelink, Centrelink's meant to be there to help you when you're facing hard times. My hard times, though, were based on my mental health, and Centrelink is terrible for mental health. So it's like, I came to them for help, and they just made me feel worse. I think part of the reason my depression was so long is because Centrelink, like, anytime I made progress, Centrelink would do something, and then I'd just crash and have to get all that progress back. And with depression, especially the type of depression I had, when you're, like, you know, when you're recovering, it's a very slow. But when something bad happens, it's very easy to just crash straight down. So, and then you have to start again, and it's another slow building up. So yeah, I mean, over time with that depression, I did gradually, like if you looked at the overall trend, I was slowly recovering with all the roller coaster. But yeah, I think it just took a lot longer because they weren't supportive. I think the times that I had the best sort of recovery period was when I had an exemption, and like they would occasionally pester me with phone calls, but like I didn't, like they'd say they were gonna call me and then not call me because like technically I didn't have to answer those things anyway. It was about like, you know, they just have those little things that they throw at you and you're like, why bother with this when I don't have to do the thing? But overall, because they weren't harassing me, I had a bit of time to chill out. But then that would end, and like what the psychologist had assessed me as being able to do like 20 hours of work a week, and like, excuse me, based on one phone call and not like that, not reevaluating in 6 months time when my exemption was over. You just say, oh, in 6 months time you'll be able to suddenly do 20 hours of work a week. Like, come on, am I even doing that now? Like now what, I get 8 hours for a bonsai shift, and then I do a few hours here and there for my other job, which is work from home. I don't think I'm doing 20 hours a week even now when I'm healthy, because like healthy, I still have some, I suppose, mental issues lingering. Nothing diagnosable, but I think I'm more aware of my sensitivities, so I'm just like slowly building myself up. I go see my GP every now and then just to update her on my progress and sort of go through plans and whatever. So the plan for this year, because I've been doing better, is to try and gradually do more work. It also looks like I'm going to be the kind of person who's constantly doing casual jobs, which is a little bit of a stressful way to live because you don't have the same job security as if you were part-time or full-time. But because of the way my brain works, I might have to just accept that that might be the work strategy for me. Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how I get through things. I think I need to find more work from home type stuff though. I don't know what. But being able to work from home, I found has really helped with that finance job I'm doing, because that's such a boring job. And yeah, if I work from home, it means I don't have to endure public transport, which gives me the shits. And I don't have to listen to other people's terrible music in the office. I can play my own heavy metal and be okay. But yeah, no, I've got to try and figure that shit out because I really don't want to end up on Centrelink again. At the moment, because I've got my family supporting me, you know, I don't need to earn as much money. And it works out for us because my youngest brother's got disabilities, so if, like, it helps if someone is home a lot of the time to be able to help out. Like, we've got carers from the NDIS, but you do still have to... What's the job market like in Sydney? Oh gosh, I don't know, to be honest, because I haven't really engaged. I do get Seek updates from like this particular like arts media kind of stuff, but they never send me stuff that makes sense. Half of it is these terrible modeling / acting agencies, and they all look super dodgy. Like, they get you to sign up, but I'm pretty sure you have to pay fees, and from all the feedback, like, you know, they'll help you out for a week until you've paid fees, and then they just don't help you. And looking into that stuff, doing extras acting sounds like a terrible gig anyway. But outside that, I don't really know much about the jobs market, and I guess it depends on what kind of job you're looking for. I think in Australia we're going to have trouble with the jobs market overall because the economy is not doing great. You know, we've had the bushfires, now there's been flooding in a few places, there's still the drought as well in some places. There's also the coronavirus thing, and we're very dependent on China. So there's just like all this shit happening that's really going to stress out our economy. And our economy was already doing kind of crap before all this happened. No thanks to the government clinging to their surplus, which I think they finally realized just isn't doable. You know, they released was it $2 billion for the fires or something? Yeah, I think the economy is really going to struggle, and difficult to media jobs in Brisbane. Yeah, I don't really know much about the difference between Sydney and Brisbane. I mean, Sydney is a bigger city, so maybe. But yeah, no, I don't have enough insight. I'm sorry, but Yeah, I mean, you could always try logging into a website like Seek and put your location as Sydney and see if there's jobs here that might work for you. Um, I like Seek the best as their website. I find it the easiest to navigate. Some of the others, like visually, they just don't look right. Like I find it hard to navigate in that sense. I feel like Seek's, at least visually, it works better for me, but it depends on you, I guess. I have seen some jobs come up on LinkedIn as well, though. Like I don't use that website very often, but every now and then when I log in, they suggest stuff, and I actually applied for some stuff I think there, but yeah, it didn't work out. I don't think I even heard back. Did I press apply? I don't remember. I don't know. Yeah, that was probably when I was interested in social media job. Because yeah, no, I went through a little binge of watching like how people do the social media thing, especially for bands. But I was also just looking generally, and I was like, I wonder if I could get a job doing social media. But I think I'd be really bored with that as well. Like I can do it. I can do stuff for myself when I get really passionate about something. Like for my old band Rainbow Death Ray. I didn't know as much about social media then, but I think I made some reasonable progress and we did some reasonable marketing, like, beginners marketing kind of stuff. And we went on poster runs and I got a lot of exercise doing that. But yeah, no, I thought for a while, maybe I can do social media content management or something, but no, when I look at it, man, it's not for me. That's the problem is like I get into a lot of things and things look great, but then I learn too much about them and realize how boring they are. My brain's constantly needing something new or, a compromise, I guess. I like, what do I like about the jobs that I have? The finance job is easy. Like, I barely have to use my brain. It's just about making sure numbers go in the right spot. Places like Centrelink make bad situations even worse. That's why the the Universal Basic Income is inevitable in the long run. With automation and AI, more and more people are not needed by the market anymore. Yeah, my finance job, if they wanted to, they could easily write an AI to do what I do because there's like the human component very minimal. There's even like when we get sent an invoice, there's this machine thing that actually reads the invoice and works out like where things are. It only sometimes gets confused. I still have to fill in a lot of details because it doesn't know how to cross-reference them properly, but you could easily get a machine to eventually take over my job. Like it's not that hard. It's just about making sure numbers go in the right places. I don't feel like I'm doing any problem solving there. But what makes that job bearable is that I'm at home, I can listen to my own music, and I feel comfortable. So yeah, but with the bonsai job, what I like about that, I think, is there is more creativity. And I had a job monitoring and writing news summaries for 12 and a half years, and our positions were outsourced overseas. Oh yeah, there's a lot of that shit going on too. Hey. And then the thing about like news is I know a lot of those websites, news websites and whatever, they're also using bots to find things. And like you can now get computers to write news stories based on, I guess, other things they've seen. Occasionally they come out weird, so I think maybe they still get an editor to read that, but there are more machines writing news articles, at least theoretically. I don't know if any of those websites actually like use them or if it was just a research project, but I've seen, I read an article by a robot and it's like, yeah, all right. And then also these days, if you think about the standards of journalism, when you're reading an article, there's so many typos and grammatical errors and missed words and things. If no one edits it of what a robot's writing, how is anyone going to know anyway? Because the standard of writing has really dropped a lot, which is unfortunate, but whatever, cost cutting and all that shit. It's going to be interesting to see how the world economy develops because there is a lot more of that kind of outsourcing, AI, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but it's in like, I don't know, in Australia, UBI hasn't been talked about. Not really. I know in America there's that Andrew Yang guy, but I don't think he's doing too well. And then there's some European countries that have trialed it, but maybe it hasn't quite gone to plan. I don't know. And we've got to figure out the right model for it. I've seen a few different models, but yeah, I haven't looked into it for a while. But I think like here, I mean, one of the things that really frustrates me about Centrelink, you've got Centrelink and it's attached to these job agencies who are supposed to find you a job, but from a lot of the feedback you see, they're not really that good at it, and they're incentivized to do all kinds of bullshit, and they're not really helping. And you're just like, but these companies, these job agencies get so much government money to do what they do, and then they just suck at it. Why are we spending so much money on that when we could put more money into actually supporting the people who need it on Centrelink? I mean, it's an odd waste of money, and it sort of makes me think that, like, if you want to be on Centrelink, the best way to get Centrelink money is to be employed by a job agency, if that makes sense. Like, you know, just sort of sit around there screwing around people who actually need help. Like, they're the ones who are getting the most Centrelink money in a way. I mean, I haven't looked at how much those people earn, but I'm sure it's more than what you get on Centrelink trying to find jobs, applying to 20 bloody things. Oh, my job network provider didn't even know Centrelink were changing the new start to the job seeker allowance from March this year. Oh my god. Yeah, I haven't kept up with all the things. Honestly, like I got to a point where it just seemed so stressful. I do still follow the Australian Unemployed Workers Union on Facebook. I don't know if you don't know about them, they're worth like just following on Facebook, because if you have an issue, they do a lot of advocacy. I also found, what is it, ACOS? I forget what, ACOSS, I forget what it stands for, but they seem interested in the same kinds of things. So I still follow, yeah, you have? Okay, cool. Yeah, I still follow them on Facebook, but I don't always have the energy to read it because it is so stressful looking at this stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god. You know, I really feel for people who are stuck on those payments because it is such a shit fight. And I was even in the, like, because I was depressed, and you know, I got all the paperwork filled out, I was on the medical, like, once the medical exemption ran out, I think I had a couple I think I had 2 medical exemptions. The first one they fucked up, and then the second one was longer, and they pestered me less once I finally got that, but I basically had to tell them I was suicidal and all this kind of stuff, which I shouldn't have to do. Like, it shouldn't get to that point. Yeah, bad memories, those. But yeah, at the end of it, like, they put me in the, was it the disability employment, the DES, or like I had to, instead of regular New Start, and seeing a regular job provider, you had to see one of the disability job providers, even though you didn't qualify for like a disability pension. It's just like, you're disabled. I'm like, I don't understand how that works. Yeah, it frustrates me that they always talk about disabled instead of just having a medical condition that I need help with right now. You know, like, the idea that they would describe me as disabled in any way, I'm just like, no, I just have a medical condition right now. But I think maybe I get a bit weirded out just because I do have a profoundly disabled brother who, like, Centrelink take one look at him and they're like, oh, which is ridiculous. Like, he's never going to recover from the condition that he has. They could easily write that down, and they still every now and then decide to be a bit of a pain about him. But no, once they see him, they're like, oh yeah, fair enough. Dear, oh dear. But yeah, no, because I've seen a lot of those really profoundly disabled kids and grown up around them, I guess, like, my base view of disability is maybe a bit different to others. Like, I realize you can have disabilities that aren't as severe, but yeah, no, just feeling like, when I think about if I was disabled just for having depression, comparing it to these kids, it's a bit of a cognitive, like, what the fuck for me. But I know some people do get depressed enough that it pretty much is a disability. Some forms of depression are really untreatable. Andrew Yang has no choice. I look at the U as a new system for the whole Western world. More and more people are not needed anymore. Yeah, I think what he's trying to do is quite ambitious. And he presents really well, but I think this year in particular is not his year. Maybe in a future campaign, you know, he's young enough, he can try again another race, but I don't think 2020 American election, I don't think he stands a chance, really. but you know, he's made an impression, and so you know, people are starting to know about him. If he tries harder in the future, maybe he will eventually get there. But I gotta admit, the American presidential race isn't something that I followed too closely either, because like it's kind of insane, and you know, I'm trying to cut down on sources of stress, especially sources of stress that I can't influence. I mean, some people could argue if I put my views online, maybe I'll change the minds of a few people, but that, yeah, I don't think so, and I don't have the energy to look heaps deeply into all this stuff. But no, I can give like vague impressions of what I think is happening. Centrelink is getting more and more automated with a lot less human contact than previous. Yeah, that bloody robo-debt thing was a farce. I don't know, it's like... I don't know what to do at this point. Like, that's another thing I can't really influence, unfortunately. I did write to my local member about Centrelink once. The unfortunate thing, though, is that my local member at the time was Tony Abbott, and you know, what are you going to get from that? Not much. He did write back, and he even wrote some stuff in handwriting. I forget what it said, but you know, beyond the generic answer, he actually wrote some extra stuff, which was probably more than I was expecting to get, but it was still the same kind of thing, like, oh, they're doing their best. And I'm like, yeah, but if you change the policies, they could do better. I actually know someone who used to work at like the Centrelink before the job agency thing got privatized, and it sounds like it actually was better then. And they've just, you know, I guess cost cutting and all that kind of stuff, they just made it worse and worse. And yeah, I think we are going to have to figure out something, because like I realize the aging population isn't helping with this whole thing. And then when you throw in all that AI stuff, like we're gonna struggle at some point. Even conservatives will jump on board of the UBI because it keeps the machine going. I haven't heard any conservatives too excited about it. But then, you know, obviously I haven't been paying attention. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see where it goes. I think at some point, you know, we do have to look at what are we going to do with all these people who've been made redundant, and like, it does seem different to other periods in time where people lost jobs. Like, you know, with the Industrial Revolution, everyone's like, oh, we're going to all lose our jobs, but people got jobs in other areas. But I think because now a lot of stuff's getting more technical, not everyone is capable of picking up some of those jobs. Like, the number of jobs that robots and AI can take over now is so much greater than the number of jobs older technologies replaced, that it's like, what are we going to do with so many people who aren't in work anymore? And yeah, and then there's like problems with, like, you know, if you're older, sometimes it's harder to get a job. I think one of the things I have going for me is people assume I'm younger than I am. At least for the moment. I don't know at what point I'm going to actually start looking my age, but in the meantime, I hope people, like, you know, if I do want to get a job, maybe people will look at me and be like, you look like you're just out of uni. Of course, if they look at my resume, they'll realize I'm older than that, because, you know, I can't fake when I actually left uni. But yeah, no, there is a bit of the ageism thing, which is unfortunate. I know someone who has tried applying for jobs, but because they're older, like, they have so much experience, but because they're older, it's a bit trickier to get anything. Although it does sound like they turned down some offers that weren't as good as what they were hoping. 42 and already face age discrimination. Yeah. And I don't understand that, because if someone has all this experience, why wouldn't you take them? Why would you take the young person who just got out of uni and doesn't really understand the world against someone who's been doing that their whole life? It's odd. Like, I realize if you've been to uni recently, maybe you have more updated knowledge, but you also don't have a proven work ethic beyond being able to leave uni. And I mean, you guys have heard me rant about some of the people I went to uni with, and like, I just don't know how some people get the degrees. Have the standards dropped that much? I mean, granted, like, the main degrees that I did weren't exactly like the most brain power needing ones, but you know, you still had to have reached a certain level to even get there. But also some of the teachers are a bit like, how did you get here? Oh my god. I don't know. I just, the world is not exactly what I was led to believe it was when I was a kid. Hey, that's that sort of Disney bubble that ends up getting popped when you get older and you're just like, oh shit, hey, I'm stuck in this world. Yeah, I don't know. Conservatives will get it to you because it's the only chance to avoid a complete collapse. Yeah, well, it's a tricky one for sure. One of the things, like, you know how communism has generally worked out pretty terribly throughout history for a lot of people. One of the things that I used to think when I was younger is that if you wanted to do communism properly, you'd have to get robots to do everything and then just like let everyone live off whatever. But now that I'm older, I'm not entirely sure how that would work. There's just like, you know, younger me having all these ideas. Because I think back then what I thought communism was, like what I thought the problem would be, I thought the problem would be that because people were getting what they needed, they wouldn't have any incentive to work. It's a bit like with what people say, oh, if you give out welfare for free and don't make people work for it, everyone will just sit on welfare all day. That sort of idea is what I used to think communism was. And so I was like, okay, if people don't want to work, what if you had robots do all the work and then people could just have fun? These days, I think the problem with communism tends to be more at the top, like with corruption and so on. Although, you know, there's problems all through it, but I realized like the top of the scale has more issues that I didn't realize when I was younger. Corruption seems to be a big problem with a lot of countries that could be doing quite well if only they could get through that. But hey, you know, when greedy individuals get power, what do you expect? Anyway, oh my god, yeah, I've been trying to disconnect from politics. It's just too stressful. Like especially in the middle of the bushfires when everyone's like, oh, ScoMo's doing this and that, and I'm just like, I don't have the energy for this, so I unfollowed a lot of. I pressed the snooze button on Facebook. You know, it gives you like 30 days to just snooze people. I snooze so many people. I think they're only just coming back onto my feed again. But yeah, no, that like I don't. What we had an election last year. There's not going to be an election for another 2 years in Australia. So what does it matter what I know? You know, I can't vote for anyone for another 2 years. So what's happening right now? I just want to get on with my life. I don't have the energy to stress about everything that's going wrong right now. When we get closer to the next election, that's when I can start paying attention and be like, okay, who are the parties right now? What are they saying? What's their track record? Who do I believe? And then I'll vote for someone. Although, you know, does it really make that much difference because of my electorate? My electorate always votes the same way. Actually, we kicked out Tony Abbott, but I think the girl, Zali, she's an independent, she's not going to last the next election, I don't think. I think this electorate will vote another Liberal in, and the only reason we voted for Zali collectively, I think, was because we wanted Tony to move on. He wouldn't move on himself, so we're like, fine, we'll vote someone else in, then forced him to move on, and then I think this electorate will go back to voting Liberal. So my lower house vote doesn't do much. The best it can do is be a protest. Of course, it depends on, like, you know, how good the other candidates are. We occasionally have, like, some serious nut jobs running for this seat. This seat, like, the last couple of elections, it has had, like, 10 people running for it or something, because they all think, oh, I'm going to be the one. I'm just like, no. And none of them understand this location. None of the weirdos who try and go for it. Oh my god, get off the washing bird! Hopi, get the bird! Get off the... Oh my god, get him! Hopi, get the birds! They're on all our washing. Good boy. Sorry. So the bird perching, we've got 2 washing lines. One's out in the sun, one's in like this sheltered area. Obviously because it's raining, they're all in this sheltered area. And these birds just perching on it, like, bloody... Anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, voting and stuff. Yeah, no, my vote counts the most in the Senate. It's always hard to figure out who to vote for because, you know, there aren't any parties that properly represent what I think. And, you know, so it's always about choosing the least worst candidate. Or, you know, if I think one party is going to get in one house, maybe I try and vote for the opposite in the other house just to, like, you know, if the government has both houses of the sometimes it's too easy for them to pass a lot of bullshit. So I feel like, there should be some balance in the Senate, maybe, but I don't know if that's flawed, because on the other hand, if the Senate is really hostile, then the government can't get anything done, and we're also screwed from that. So it's like, how do you find the balance? And as one person, I can't balance it, really. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens in the next Aussie election, I gotta say. Because right now, everyone's mad at ScoMo, but right now there's no elections, and none of it really matters, like, in terms of elections. In 2 years' time, like, there's gonna be other shit going on, and he'll be judged on that more than he'll be judged on what's happening now. So yeah, I feel like there's just not much point me engaging and stressing and all that. And I have this tendency to write way too much on my personal private Facebook and then get into arguments with people, and I've been trying not to do that so much. If I do get to a point where I need to vent, because sometimes I do, I mean, maybe that's why I'm a YouTuber, because, like, stuff goes on in my brain and it just has to come out one way or another. Sometimes it happens on Facebook. And I've taken to writing on my Facebook posts, don't argue with me, this is just me venting. If you try to argue, I'll delete your comments, kind of thing, because I don't have the energy. I've taken to doing that just because I stay away from politics and dramatic news that don't really affect me. Yeah, I think it's just a less stressful way of living. I mean, if it doesn't affect me directly, and if all I have to make an impact is a vote, then, what can I do? And I mean, I know some people would be like, oh, you could go protest or do petitions, but protesting doesn't have the impact it did in the 70s or whatever, when everyone went and protested big things. These days it's very different. Like, I did go to one protest once, and it was going just fine. It was something to do with Medicare. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Something to do with Medicare. The speakers were all a bit like, so what? Then this doctor comes up. He was incredible. He made some really good points. He edited his speech on the fly so that he skipped over points that other people had already covered, and he was fantastic. Then this chick from the Socialist Alliance gets up, and I'm just like, she was terrible. She was yelling and screeching all this extra stuff that had nothing to do with what we were protesting. She was assuming that we were all on her side for all this garbage that she was, like, yelling at, and it just ruined, like, the doctor had made these really nice points. Yeah, and then she comes up and is just like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fuck. I did not come to this protest for the stuff that you are into. I came for what the doctor was into. The doctor who actually works in medicine and maybe knows a thing or two, whereas you're some uni kid just, Anyway, so protest, that was my one experience at a protest. Haven't been since, although I have been considering going and holding up a sign saying something ridiculous like, stop cupping the mic, which is something that metal singers do, because they think it makes it sound scarier, but it actually ruins the pickup pattern of the microphone. Anyway, technical stuff no one needs to know, and it'd probably confuse people if I just turned up with the stop cupping the mic sign. They'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? But hey, just a troll. But no, that's just like me fantasizing about what I'd do if I wanted to mess with people. Anyway, protests, yeah, no, they're very easy to ignore these days. They also make people angry. I think, in particular, the Extinction Rebellion guys totally didn't do protesting right, because they were pissing people off instead of making the point. There's two ways to protest, really. One is to gather together, make your point peacefully. The other is to disrupt everyone else who's just trying to go about their day, and instead of bringing them to your cause, you make them think you're dickheads. So, yeah, no, they did a bad job, and are they still around? I feel like they've been, yeah, they were stopping people from going out about their business, and it's just like, that's not how you get people on your side. But yeah, the other thing, petitions, right? Every now and then you see a change.org petition go around, and there was one that was like, because of the bushfires or something, they were trying to get the Governor General to dissolve both houses of Parliament and call a new election. First of all, ridiculous thing to ask. Like, it's not going to happen. The one time, when they kicked Gough Whitlam out, what was it? Was it John Kerr? Oh, I'm a bit tired. So that's the one time the Governor General did that, and he was essentially run out of the country. No one he had to flee to the UK or whatever. because it was such a controversial move and like all that kind of shit. He got a lot of crap for it. So no Governor General for something so small and petty, no Governor General is going to take such a huge risk fucking with the Constitution and fucking with all that kind of stuff just because some people had this petition. So it's a completely unrealistic thing to ask for. Also, we just had an election. The majority of Australia, regardless of what you think, the majority of Australia voted the Liberals back in. So, you know, the people signing this petition, it might be a big petition, but it doesn't really support what Australia thinks. It's what a small subset of Australia thinks. The other thing is they keep using change.org, which is not how you submit petitions to Parliament. There is actually a website, an official Australian Parliament website, where you're supposed to put your petition. And you have to also address the petition properly. Like I think there are ways to do it paper-based, but you have to address it properly. It has to be to the right person. It has to have the right things inside it. And if you don't fit those requirements, the government's under no obligation to look at your petition. I think in the Senate, it's slightly different. If you can get a senator to be on your cause and if you fulfill a certain other requirements, maybe that's a little bit easier if you can get the senator on your side. But most of these petitions are not following the official processes. Like when I point out like your petition is not going to do anything, people are like, oh, you're anti-democracy, blah, blah, blah. We have a right to petition. I'm like, yes, you have a right to petition, but you have to follow the rules. Like, come on, if you want to make change politically, you have to play the game. You can't just yell and scream in the street and, you know, send out these digitally signed things that don't actually count towards anything because you've done it improperly. And the other problem with change.org is like anyone, anywhere can sign that. They're not necessarily in Australia. And like, how do you verify all these things? I mean, even on paper, I guess there's issues with like, how do you know where these people come from? But I think there's one where you're supposed to put like addresses as well. I looked at it like maybe a month or so ago, so I don't remember the exact details, but people are not following the proper petition process. And then they wonder why their petitions never get looked at and the issues never get addressed. Like, come on. If you want your issues to be addressed in the political system, you have to follow the political system. It's unfortunate, but, you know, that's just how it is. And people just want the easy way out. They're like, oh, if I just sign this thing, that's my job done. No, it's not. It's not that simple. That's not how life works. And yeah, people are shocked that they're not making an impact on the world. It's like, come on. And of course, all this shit aside, the biggest impact you can make is just to vote. We don't have the best candidates, but if you don't vote, then you give some of these douchebags more chance of getting through, unfortunately. Although Australia has compulsory voting, so most people vote. I think that's a decent safeguard against weird shit happening here. You know, I think it stops those special interest groups getting through. And the problem with like special interest groups and like, you know, lobbyists and activists and all that, the problem with them is like to be in one of those groups, you have to be reasonably passionate. And because it's a small group of reasonably passionate people, it can tend to go to extremes more easily. And if we let those guys, if those guys were the only guys voting, you'd get a lot more weird shit going on, which I think happens in some other countries where there isn't compulsory voting, depending on what the country's like and what the different groups are like within that country. You get more of that extreme stuff. Whereas in Australia, sure, maybe there are people who are just randomly voting because they don't pay attention, they don't know what to vote for, but it does have a moderating impact. Like it stops those crazier groups from getting too far. So yeah, I'm not impressed with the people that I get to vote for, but I still vote because, you know, I'd rather have some impact in that moderating influence. At least it's not as crazy as it could have been, kind of thing. So yeah, it's a compromise. Like a lot of life is a compromise. Anyway, that's sort of my philosophy on politics at the moment. Sometimes people are like, why don't you go into politics? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? First of all, there's no party I could join, so I'd have to be the Pirate Party. There's all kinds of weird parties, hey. Oh my god. I accidentally joined the arts party at one point. Like they had a crowdfunding thing, and I was like, oh yeah, chuck them some money, because like that was before I became informed about politics. I was just like, oh yeah, chuck them some money. They're never gonna get up, and they actually did get the funding. So for a while, I had like a membership card and all that kind of stuff. And I even met one of the guys who started that party. But the problem is, they put all their meetings on a Sunday, and I used to work on a Sunday because, like, penalty rates, why wouldn't you? And they're an arts party. When do they think that we're working? Like, they're always putting it on a Sunday when I need to make the most money. Like, logic, please, people. I mean, can't you put your meeting on a day where I don't know. Anyway, so I didn't go to the meetings after that. And also, they went very hard left wing. They were originally, like, one of the guys who started it was originally telling me they're trying not to be either side of politics. They're trying to focus on art and so on. And they were trying to get this right-wing artist into the group to try and, have that influence. But when they did start releasing policies, it's like, why did you even bother starting this party? You might as well just have been the Greens or, some other left-wing hybrid. Like, there's so many other parties who do exactly the same thing. It is just pointless. And, I was like, I came here, when I met the guy, I was like, okay, maybe because I joined by then, I was like, okay, maybe I'll see how it goes and maybe it's worth doing. And so I was like, okay, I'm here for the art stuff. And then they started throwing in all this extra stuff. Some of it I supported, some of it I didn't. And I'm just like, well, can't we just get back to the thing that we all agree on? Anyway, so that's my lame attempt at joining a party one time by accident. I had a bit too much money to throw around back then, back when I was working more, I suppose. I was, I'll throw them $20, they won't get anywhere. Yeah, they did. I don't know if they're still around though, because they're such a waste of a party. Anyway, no, so I can't join any parties really because none of them share my views. I'd say politically I'm more of a centrist, but like when you say centrist, that means I agree with some things on the left, some things on the right, and some things I disagree with everyone. And when you look at centrists who have that kind of approach, they don't necessarily all agree. So, there isn't any party. So I'd have to stand as an independent. And do I care enough for that? That's a fuckload of work. Also, how do I get known? Also, in this electorate, good luck. And then also, I mean, you kind of have to put on a particular image to be a politician in this country. It's very difficult to get far if you have anything controversial in your past. And I just put all my life on the internet, and it's not like the most respectable kind of, do you know what I mean? I would have to really, if I was going to be a politician, I would have to go all out crazy to get the attention, and then to also have people who are looking at my past go, shit, we can't use this because she's already crazier than that. It would essentially be a Trump-style approach, I think, is just you're so batshit whatever that people overlook the crap that you do. Because what am I? I'm a heavy metal vocalist chick. That's enough to freak people out. And then also when I do my hair crazy colors, that's not very politician-like. It'd probably when I color my hair, people tend to assume I'm vegan, I'm in the Greens party and all this kind of shit. I must be a lesbian and all that. So there's I like coloring my hair, but that says nothing about my politics. It's just about me being a weirdo. But people make all these assumptions. I had one person when I was doing Rainbow Death Ray. We used to have this little lolly jar, and people could give us donations to have a lolly. We were really hustling to break even. And yeah, one day we were at this gig and we had the lolly jar out, and this girl comes up and is like, lollies have bugs in them and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, in some countries, bugs are a delicacy, so, whatever. And she's like, oh, so you're not vegan? I'm like, no, I'm not fucking vegan. Oh my God, you do you, but don't assume that I'm vegan just because I have colored hair. I'm a little bit skinny. Yeah, that was a weird time. And yeah. Anyway, memories. It seriously happens. I mean, people thought Rainbow Death Ray, I once saw it described as a lesbian death metal band, and we barely counted. We were trying to be metal, but was sort of like electronic metal, and we had fused in some pop elements and all that kind of stuff. So even though I growled, I do death growls, even though I did that, we weren't a death metal band, and we weren't lesbians. You know, we were sort of a mix of all that. We could have easily done the LGBT thing, and I think people assumed that because we were called Rainbow Death Ray, but we were called Rainbow Death Ray because I'm so oblivious it didn't occur to me that that would be interpreted as an LGBT thing. That's how fucking dumb I am. Is I just walk into that shit and I'm like, oh, no wonder. It took me ages to figure that one out, didn't it? Anyway, what was I rambling about? I've forgotten what I wrote in my tangent. I think I was talking about politics, and I couldn't be a. Yeah, no. I do want to color my hair again. I've 90% decided that if I get to next summer and I haven't joined a band, I might just shave all my hair off and be done with it. Long hair is a pain. I don't, you know, it gets everywhere. It takes ages to dry. It's hot in the summer. Trying to put it up is a pain. And then I can't wear a hat properly. Yeah, the only reason I'm keeping my hair long is because if I join a band and they have a specific image that they want me to do myself up like, having long hair gives me the most flexibility, because then I can cut it however, easy. Whereas if I have short hair already and they're like, actually we want you to have long hair, you can do a certain amount with extensions, but I haven't had greatest experiences. I think you'd want to get human hair extensions, synthetic extensions, just for straight hair. They tangle really easily, and I'm not into that. It just turns into dreads anyway, so I might as well just get dreads. But if they don't want dreads, yeah. So it's just easy to grow my own hair. And then if they're like, hey, this is our image, can you do your hair something differently? And be like, sure. And also at the moment with my 2 casual jobs, so the work from home job, no one cares what my hair's like. And then the bonsai job, my bonsai boss, he's into heavy metal as well, and you know, we get on really well. He's not gonna care if I do my hair crazy either. So yeah, if they asked me to do a mohawk, I could do that. If they asked me to shave like half my hair and do something weird, I can do that. If they asked me to have it long, at the moment I can do that. But I don't know when I'm gonna find a new band. I've been growing this hair pretty much since I was depressed. And originally, like, I didn't have the money to do much with it, and then also didn't have any motivation. And yeah, so I've been growing it ever since, and then it turned into, well, I could use this for band stuff. But now I'm like, what if I don't ever find a band? Am I just gonna grow my hair forever? No, especially living in Australia, in Sydney. So yeah, I could just shave it off. The reason I started coloring my hair in the first place is because Mum wouldn't let me shave my hair off. Like, she has these clippers and she does the boys' hair every now and then. And I was like, do you mind? She's like, no. So I went and did my hair crazy colors. She didn't say I couldn't do that. So yeah, actually the first day, donate your hair to charity. Yeah, that's a possibility. The only thing is, because like I've grown it since it was colored, I don't know if you can see in it, like maybe it's already grown itself. Like, I know with hair, like you shed over time, and so like your hair does fall out, but then there's a certain amount that still grows, and I don't know which part of this hair used to be dyed. And if you've dyed your hair, you can't donate your hair because they need like pure untainted hair. So I wouldn't be able to tell them like exactly how much of it used to be dyed. I mean, it doesn't look like it. Those little highlights seem to be gone. Hang on, let me look at, it's a little bit hard in this lighting. Oh yeah, I can see at the very ends there's like some faint, I don't know how well it shows on the camera, there's some very faint highlights in there that still show through. So the bottom of my hair I couldn't, but yeah, I don't know, I remember that originally that's the reason I couldn't donate it. Yeah. I don't know, probably something I'd have to look into. But the other thing I considered is I could let someone do some practice hairdressing on me while it's long, and then, you know, if they do a terrible job, I just get rid of it all. Yeah, there's a few options there. But having had the hair dyed once, it was bleached and had some color, but it does seem like most of it's disappeared from the end. I think it would be, how long was my hair when I had it done? It probably would have been about that much. So is that really enough to donate? I'm not sure, because that's the only amount that I can really guarantee hasn't been touched, because often they do other stuff to the hair, I think. But I don't know enough about hair, to be honest. That's why I get other people to do it for me, and why it costs more than it probably should. But no, actually, when I do get around to coloring my hair again, one of the problems I have is the hairdresser I used to go to shut down a few years ago, and I've been to another place, but they were all right. They were cheaper. They were faster as well. But the owner, like, one of the things I like doing is having things like dreads added to my hair. Synthetic dreads. I don't think I would ever dread my hair naturally. It's not me. I like changing my hair too much to commit to anything like that. So I like having synthetic dreads put in. I've had cyberlocks. I've had little tubey things. There's little bits of plastic and stuff in the past. But the other place I went to for a bit, the owner insisted on making the dreads fresh and making them on my head, and then she'd have to use this steamer, but it's a really old steamer. It didn't work very well, and it didn't work very quickly. And then also, like, she'd complain about how bad her back was, and, you know, complain about all this stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't make me feel good. Like, you know, for one thing, I feel guilty because you're hanging around to do this even though it causes you pain, and you're not charging me as much as the other guys used to for the same service. But also, like, you're not even giving me what I actually want to do. How it works, I guess I miss. Oh no, yeah, I'm sorry. It's really hard to find a good time for everyone. Hey, but thanks for jumping in. You can watch the replay. I've been talking pretty consistently in this one. But yeah, no. So she just made me feel bad because, like, she's obviously not enjoying it, and then also, I don't, as a customer, I don't want to hear you complaining about all these different things. I just want to relax, get my hair done, and pay you. You know, some hairdressers are fun to talk to, but when they start complaining about shit, and she'd complain about some of the people in the area as well, and I'm just like, I don't need to know this stuff. I don't. Yeah, and so I felt uncomfortable, and she wasn't making the dreads the way I want them anyway. So, yeah, I'm reluctant to go back there. And then there's another one. One of the guys who used to work there has now moved somewhere and has become like one of the top people at another hairdresser that does alternative hair. And the problem there though is I think they use the same dye as this other place. And one of the problems, did you guys ever see me with purple hair? Not when I had the midnight, like the full-on purple hair. I had like a little bit of purple at the front, I think. And it faded to green. I'm like, excuse me, can you mix your dyes a bit better? Because some combinations, they don't fade nicely. And it was Directions hair color. They mixed a blue and a red or something to make the purple, and it faded to green. And I was like, wasn't a nice green either. If you've seen, like, I did a self-portrait, I think I called it like Despair or something. That was when I had the green hair, and it wasn't nice. Yeah, so I was not impressed with Directions, whereas the place I used to go used Manic Panic, which the red is really like it gets all over your neck and is kind of, but at least it didn't fade stupid. But then, yeah, so after that experience with the Directions, I tried Arctic Fox hair color, and I actually did try it in the green, and it didn't leave so much staining. I mean, I suppose I should try the red, but it didn't leave all this staining like the Manic Panic did, and it also did fade reasonably nicely. So yeah, and then one of the things that annoys me about all these hair products is they all insist they're vegan, and I'm like, I don't care. Maybe that's why people assume I'm vegan when I color my hair with that stuff. Anyway, I don't like, but Arctic Fox do actually donate to charities instead of just not testing on animals. It feels like they're trying to make more of an impact. So I'm like, well, at least you guys are committed. Apparently there's some controversy with the charities they are donating to, but I don't know. Anyway, that stuff aside, what was I going on a tangent for? Oh, getting my hair done. So the other problem, so first of all, I don't know who to go to get this stuff done, because my old favorite hairdresser moved back to Ireland, and then, you know, other people don't do things the way I do. One of the girls who used to work at the place I went to all the time, she started up her own thing. The problem there for me is I don't really like the dreads that she's specialized in. And she does a lot of wool dreads, which I don't want wool dreads. They'd be too heavy. They'd absorb too much water. I just want the synth dreads. But I think color-wise, like, yeah, that she looks pretty good, but maybe I'd get dreads installed by someone else. One of the I'm sorry to turn this into a rant about hair, but with the place that I used to go to, the one thing I don't like about how they used to do my dreads is they used to sew them in this really weird way, so that when you tried to take them out, it'd just be this like heaps matted mess that it'd take ages to brush out to get something new put in. Whereas I found that later, there's a channel on YouTube called Dr. Locks, I think. Dr. Locks. And whatever it's called, she teaches you how to braid them in, and then you attach like a little elastic, and you can use like dental elastics for braces. You know, I've still got heaps of them because I didn't use them very much. And then when you're done with the dread, you just snap the elastic, undo the braiding, and your hair is back to normal. And I'm like, where have you been all my life? So yeah, but anyway, no, one of the big problems with that, to come all the way back to the point, is the original place where I went, they used to source dreads that I really liked. There's a lot of people in Sydney who will do custom dreads, and there's this chick out west, she's a friend. We actually went on a Pokemon hunt when Pokemon Go was a thing. We did that together. She makes custom dreads. She made some really nice dreads for me for Rainbow Death Ray. I custom dreads. I was like, can you design them to be black to this point? No, to be colored to this point and then have black and white tips and have these patterns and all that. And she did it perfectly. The only thing is she used a crochet method of dreading synthetic hair. And it makes them a lot bulkier and a lot thicker and heavier. And they look more natural, which is I think why these custom dread makers do it that way. But it's not really the feel that I wanted, and she did an amazing job and it worked for my hairstyle at the time, but I don't think I would do it that way again. So yeah, the dreads that I like are these machine-made ones. And all these custom dread makers, handmade dread makers, they hate the machine ones. I think that's a problem. When I went to the second hairdresser, I brought in some of my machine-made ones and they hated them, and that's why they made them on my hair. They did it. They broke up my machine-made dreads and made fresh ones out of that hair. A lot of these people don't like the machine-made ones because they don't look natural enough. I'm like, they're crazy colors, of course they don't look natural. But I really love them because they're very lightweight, and they look nice. And I mean, maybe occasionally you might have to reseal them because of the way they're made. They're not like heaps dense. But I really like them. I really love the design of them. I love the look. I love the twirly look instead of the chunky look. So the crochet ones tend to have these little chunks, a bit more like natural dreads, whereas the machine-made ones, and I've also dabbled in making dreads, you twist them and give them a twisty look. So like they still have that dread shape, but when you look at the texture, it's very smooth and it has a twist. And I prefer that to the chunky ones. So yeah, I actually had to go through, I don't know how I did it, but eventually I found there's a supplier in the UK. I think they're made in the UK, and there's a supplier there I can import them from. And they also sell crin, like Cyberlock's tube crin. So when I want to do my hair again, I'm going to have to place an order with someone in the UK, get them imported here, just to have the kind of hair that I want, because my old hairdresser doesn't exist. And I actually approached them to be like, where did you get this from? And they weren't able to tell me. Yeah, because I think maybe the lady I got in touch with, maybe she wasn't involved in ordering it, and I couldn't figure out the other dude. The lengths I'm going to have to go to get the same kind of hair. But I am happier and healthier at the moment. And I have money again because I'm working again. Not a lot of money, but I will be able to do my hair. It's just a matter of what I do. I've been waiting for a band. I suppose I could do my hair for my solo project, but I'm not as into it. That sort of electronic stuff. I would rather be in a metal band, and so that's why I've been keeping my hair fresh to but I haven't gotten an audition. All I've done is send them, my EPs or the clips, my YouTube covers. I haven't actually had an in-person audition, which is disappointing, but I think that's just the nature of music in Sydney at the moment. Heavy metal especially seems to be doing better in Melbourne and Brisbane at the moment. At least from the band search ads, they're all for Brisbane and Melbourne. There's very few looking for a vocalist in Sydney. And when they do, they tend to be going for guys. I'm a bit odd as a vocalist. Even like if someone was looking for a female vocalist, I think I'm a bit odd. So because I growl, I might be the only growling female in Sydney. I also do the growl sing combo, and my singing voice is a little bit different because I probably came from more of a classical place. Like I didn't really study much classical singing, but because I was surrounded by that as a kid, it's probably influenced the way I sing. I also have a higher voice, so the pop stuff doesn't really sound right the way that I sing it a lot of the time. I mean, I've been working on it, but I just don't feel like I'm like other singers enough to conform to someone's idea of what they want in a singer. Yeah, but I'm always trying to improve. Anyway, I just don't think I can wait to join something before I do my hair. And at the very least is I would shave the back. You know, I could have the long look at the front, which is what I used to do, and shave the back. Some of them shave patterns into the back. Just, yeah, this fucking weather. What was that? I just missed. What is your clothing style when you're out on the street? It depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm in lazy mode, I will go out like this, you know, with my pants and being lazy. I've worn a longer skirt more days because it's been hot, but today is not so bad. But if I'm going somewhere like with a friend, or if I'm in a particular mood, I dress up. So like, for example, if I'm going to lunch with my mum, sometimes I'll dress like this and be lazy. Sometimes I'll dress insane. If you saw on my Instagram, I posted one that was like, I was dressed up like I was a Pokemon trainer. I was just going to lunch with mum that day. We weren't doing anything in particular. I think I also did I post a YouTube video? I was just in a mood that day, so I just dressed up and mum's like, oh my God, what are you doing? Yeah, but I don't actually go out that much. Yeah, I've struggled to get back into going to gigs since recovering from depression. Like I've been to a few that weren't my own gig. But yeah, I've just struggled to be motivated. A lot of the bands I used to follow have folded, so yeah, I don't really know who to follow in Sydney at the moment. There's maybe one or two bands, but I just haven't been motivated to go out. They don't play often enough, so if it's at a bad time, I just don't go. I am gonna go to a gig in about a week. I've locked it in with a friend, so I am going to one, and I will dress up. I don't know, will I be able to post photos? Maybe I'll try and post some photos if people really want it. Yeah, I don't know, but I am gonna go to a gig, finally. I couldn't go to a gig last month because my foot was injured and I couldn't walk. But yeah, no, I'll go out. We'll go have some dinner somewhere and then we'll go off to a gig. It's a free entry gig. I'm not that rich at the moment, so I'm trying to focus on the free entry stuff. Because, you know, I have to pay adult Opal prices, so you got to take into account all your expenses, don't you? But, yeah, no. I'm trying to make an effort to go out more this year. It's just like it hasn't started. Like, this is what I'm talking about, my plans, not going to plan. You know, I want to get out more, and then what do? I get injured, so I can't go out more. When I go to bonsai, I tend to wear not these green pants, but they look like this, my older green pants. I don't know if you've ever seen them on camera. And I also have like a red shirt with like the bonsai thing on the front. So that's easy when I go to bonsai. I basically have a uniform. I don't have to wear these pants all the time. My boss is like, why are you wearing long pants in the middle of summer? Originally I started wearing them because when we used to work in the back area, but there's a lot of mosquitoes there. And also by working in the front studio, I think I would have done this from the start, but he sort of realized we actually get more business when we're working in front of people out there. And it's a little bit more comfortable because like the seat is nicer. Anyway, no, originally out the back, there were too many mosquitoes, so I didn't want to wear a skirt because then they'd bite me all over the legs. Now I wear them because like they're some of my oldest pants, so if I get dirt all over them from repotting stuff, no big deal. Yeah, so I wear that. But yeah, because like these days I don't go out for very long as well, so there's no point dressing up if I'm just going to pop out to the shops and come home. So it depends a bit on my mood. If I'm going out for longer and it's for something interesting, I will tend to dress up more. But I've gotten lazier. I guess if some of you guys remember 10 years ago, my YouTubing, I'd almost always have like black moody makeup going through my angsty phase. These days, I just can't be bothered. Takes me so long to get through makeup now. I've got one eyeliner pen that's about that big because I keep sharpening it, and I've got other eyeliner pens that I've had in reserve for years, but because I haven't been doing the band thing, band was the main reason to keep doing eyeliner, because I'd go on stage and all that, and then also go to other people's gigs. I feel like because I'm not in a band right now, I'm less connected to the music scene, so I don't feel like going out to as many gigs, whereas when I was in a band, I did feel like going out to more gigs. It's funny like that. I think like, if we go back to the mental health thing for a moment, I really think that being in a band is something that I should be doing for my mental health, not just because it's fun, because a band does get me out of the house. A band does give me something to work towards. A band does give me something to be excited about. A band also makes me more social because like I'm socializing with the band for one thing. And I find it hard to socialize without a purpose. Like we have to be going somewhere. I can't just like, when someone says, oh, do you want to get a coffee sometime? I'm like, no. One, I don't drink coffee. Two, I can just have a beverage at home. Like, well, I don't need to leave the house for that. But if we're going to a movie, for example, okay, let's go out of the house. So yeah, if I'm going to rehearsals every week, that gets me out of the house. And then also socializing with the fans when I get off stage, especially as a vocalist, you have to do that. Bit hard to do in Rainbow Death Ray because I had to pack up my violin and my computer and my effects board. Bit stupid of me being the vocalist and having the most gear in the band. But next band I join, I'm just going to be a singer. I'm not going to do all that extra crap. So I've learned my lesson, and then I can socialize with the audience who most people, especially if they're not musicians, they tend to focus on the singer, and then as the front person, it's kind of your duty to engage the fans and, be like the face of the band. The musicians, especially like the guitarists, will talk to each other, but for everyone else, it's down to you as a singer to be social. And yeah, if I'm in a band and that's my role, easier for me to socialize. And then also when I get off stage, I tend to be very hyped up, and so I will be more chatty than I would be in another kind of social situation. So yeah, I think for my psychology, I need to be in a band as well. It's just so difficult to find one. Like the offers that I've had have not been the genre for me, like pop punk. I'm not a pop punk chick. I definitely want to be in something metal or something heavy. But yeah, preferably metal because I miss having guitars in the mix. Anyway, so... did I answer whatever question was the last one? I get onto... Oh yeah, the clothing style when I'm out on the street. Yeah, I have a lot of interesting clothes now because I went on that trip to Japan and then also with all the punk rave stuff. But I don't get out enough at the moment, so I do want to, get out there. I'm a bit worried that I'm going to get into a situation where I only have goth clothes. Because, like, I mean... I tend to, I like the t-shirt you have on now. Oh yeah, it's the T-Rex. There was an exhibition at the Australian Museum, and yeah, I bought it at the T-Rex exhibition. This was back when I was mucking around on RSVP, and it was technically like one of those dates, but he was so awkward, and he tried to buy the shirt for me, and I was like, fuck no, I'm buying it myself. I don't want to, He ended up trying to stalk me. Very strange person. I actually started taking notes on him so that I could go to the police if it got bad. But yeah, no, that was a weird time in my life. Anyway, yeah, no, I'm worried that I'll get to a point where I only have goth clothes because see, I have had this. So when that would have been 2014. Yeah, 2014, I think I would have got this shirt, right? I'm the kind of person who will keep clothing as long as possible. Mum's usually the one who sees it in the washing, goes, this is too ratty, and chucks it out. So, yeah, I wear my clothes for as long as possible, try not to buy anything new, and then once it's dead, that's when I stop wearing it. So, yeah, I'm slowly running out of more of this casual kind of stuff, and my collection of fancy goth clothing is slowly expanding, and I haven't worn enough of it. I tend not to wear my nicer stuff as much because when you wear clothes and then when you wash clothes, they wear out faster. So I tend to wear my rattier clothes the most because I'm like, oh, it's all right. Like, you know, especially because I spend so much time at home. There's no point ruining nicer clothes if I'm just going to be wearing them at home. So, yeah, I tend to wear the same ratty shit all the time. And yeah, just don't replace it. And then at some point, most of my clothes are going to be gone. I actually had to, when I came back from my Japan trip, my month in Japan, I brought so much clothes back that I had to actually throw it. That's the first time in my life that I've cleaned out so many older clothes. I think we took most of it like up to Vinny's or whatever. I think Mum took some of my old clothes. We do a lot of like hand-me-down stuff. We're like, yeah, we're kind of conservative with our money in that way. It's just like, you know, what hand-me-downs can we work with? So like even with the extended family, some of I think we probably got this couch from a relative. We probably got that table from not that table from a relative. I know you can't see what I'm pointing at. I think we got all those chairs from relatives. I think that table is like 30 years old. That couch is 30 years old. We keep stuff as long as possible. And the good thing about older stuff is it tends to last longer because things used to be built better. As a middle child, I can relate to getting me hand-me-downs. Yeah, well, I'm the oldest amongst us kids. But I used to get all the cousins hand-me-downs, especially school uniforms because we all went to the same school. Although then the school changed the uniform, so I had to buy one, but hey, whatever. Yeah, no, we do all that kind of stuff. It saves you some money. But yeah, no, I wear my clothes out, and I think that's because of the way that my parents raised me is like, yes, we're comfortably well off, but we still do all that kind of thrifty kind of thing, and so I just stick to the same stuff until it's worn out. I also have like favorite shirts that I know feel a certain way, and so if I'm feeling lazy, I'll pick the shirt that feels like a lazy shirt, or like one that's comfortable to laze about in. So yeah, and it's all slowly wearing out. And most of the new shirts I get these days are usually from people going on holiday, buying a souvenir. People have finally figured out that if they're going to buy me a shirt, it should probably be black instead of like, you know, people used to get me different colored ones and I'm like, don't know if I'm going to be wearing this. But I kind of, like at this point, if anyone asks me what I want from overseas, I'm like, don't buy me any clothing. And it's the same, like, and don't gift me any clothing. I have too much, you know, save your money. I don't need stuff. Like, if you really want to buy me something, if you want to gift me something, the best thing to gift me is money, because then I can spend it how I want, and also like I'm not fully employed, so I could use a bit of extra money. When people gift me money though, I do tend to put it aside as like I should spend this on something fun because someone has gifted it to me for that purpose. But like, you know, it still helps out in the sense like I can buy what I want. And also, if I was going to buy something fun anyway, now I can use the fun money instead of the money I could have spent on things that I actually need. But yeah, no, if people are actually going to buy me something instead of just giving me money, or like, I've had people give me gift cards, but people buy gift cards to the wrong things. If you're going to buy someone a gift card, you should get them a Visa, like prepaid Visa card so that they can spend it wherever. If you buy someone a gift card to something they're never going to use, that's no good. You're wasting your money and they're like, what is this shit? I've managed to spend it all, but Yankees baseball game. Yeah, no, I don't really wear hats either. I avoid the sun in general. I have a sun umbrella, which is kind of fun sometimes. But yeah, no, I think if you were going to insist on gifting me something, make it edible maybe. I am a bit picky about food, but if it's just like regular chocolate, I don't know. And even if I can't eat it, I can share it with my family, like, you know. There was one time when I was working at Officeworks, like Officeworks, they never recognize me for anything, not through the official channels. If you get good feedback, they're supposed to give you a pin to go on your lanyard, and then when you get a certain number of pins, you can trade it for a silver pin. When you get a certain number of silver pins, you can trade it for a gold pin. I didn't know about this until towards the end of my time there, so I never got a pin. Management weren't great at that, and we also had some really bad managers in the middle and all that. But instead of that, I had customers buying me shit because like I helped them out with a job. One day this lady bought me a bottle of wine, and I'm like, holy shit, like, and you know, in a good suburb, I don't know anything about wine, but it looked fancy enough to me. I'm like, I hope she didn't spend too much money on this, because I don't drink wine, but I shared it with the family. I was like, hey, mum, dad, do you want it? Mum doesn't drink much though, so she's being Japanese, I think her tolerance for alcohol is lower. I think it's not to do with the alcohol. I think it's actually to do with preservatives that tend to appear in Western alcohol, because she could drink a Japanese one and not have like a reaction, but some other ones, although she also likes to play up pretending to be drunk. So. But yeah, no, my brother, whenever has it, he tends to get red, and I don't drink alcohol, but I assume because I have that same genetics, I would probably not handle alcohol so well anyway. But I've never really tried enough to find out. And yeah, no, but so the lady, she gave me wine. But one time, one of the customers got me a bunch of Lindt chocolate. You know, those little Lindt chocolate balls. That was good. Buy me Lindt chocolate. Buy me. I like the red ones, and I like the blue ones. The dark blue ones, the dark chocolate. Red wine is the worst for hangovers. Yeah, I don't know anything about like hangovers. I've never experienced a hangover, but I have overdosed on chocolate. There's a certain type of chocolate. See, this is another thing. I worry about my sensitivity to chemicals because I'm sensitive to certain kinds of chocolate. I don't know what it is about the different kinds of chocolate, but if I have too much, my head feels like, whoa, and you know, I guess maybe a sugar crash or something. And I'm like, if I'm that sensitive to chocolate, do you think I could handle alcohol? I could be, I don't know. A lot of people are like, you'd be an angry drunk, and I'm like, yeah, probably. Either that or I'd start behaving like a normal person. Maybe it has that opposite effect. But yeah, no, I think also, so with the Asian genes, I think it's something to do with the liver, the way the liver processes things. And when I was depressed, my last depression, we tried all kinds of antidepressants, and they either didn't work or I reacted badly, but I would have different reactions to everything. And I think we kind of concluded, red wine from Spain. Yeah, I think we kind of concluded that I have a sensitivity to those kinds of chemicals, like the chemicals that affect your mind. They have all these other effects on me, and that's how we sort of came to the conclusion, like, antidepressants aren't for me. I have to figure out other ways, which is one of the challenges. Like, maybe I'd be better at life if I could take the right antidepressant for me, but it doesn't seem to exist. We tried so many options. To the point that my psychiatrist was like, you know, maybe you need a referral to someone else. I'm that difficult. But no, he was really good. He actually took me seriously and all that. But yeah, I think we just determined I have some kind of sensitivity, so yeah. And I think that might be related to how I could potentially react to alcohol if I tried it, and possibly even connected to whatever that is about that certain type of chocolate. I think, like, you know, if you go to like Lindt Cafe or one of those Max Brenner, sometimes those, especially I think the Lindt Cafe, the dark chocolate one. Woo! Probably the closest I've gotten to experiencing a hangover would have been from chocolate. Oh my god. Anyway, where was I going? Oh dear. But yeah, no, that psychiatrist, he was good. He was, you know, because the other psychiatrist, the first one I saw, she was no help at all. But this dude, and you know, I had been wanting to see a male psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, since the first time I was diagnosed with depression. So finally got to see one, and he was actually decent. It's just that he couldn't help me either. Yeah, I mean, maybe one day. They are working on blood tests to work out what antidepressant would suit you the best. And so maybe one day they'll figure out one that could have helped me, but who knows when that's going to happen? Who knows when the right drugs will be developed? So I just gotta manage my life, and yeah, I guess I worry that, I'm like in my natural state. I do worry a bit about my psychological resilience, especially when I get tired. Anyway, um, yeah, no, it's tough. Mental health, because it's so hard to figure out exactly what's gone wrong, and like how do you dig yourself out of that, and also because of what it does to your mind and how you're feeling, it just seems like such a long way that you have to dig yourself out, and you don't have the energy for it, and it's just, yeah, it's such a difficult thing and frustrating thing, and it's you doubt yourself, like how much of what I'm experiencing, how much of it is my biology being stupid, and how much is it related to the fact that I haven't got my life together, and how much of it is my fault as a person, and how much of it is my fault biologically, and how much of it is external pressures on me, and you wonder about all that stuff, and there's no clear answers. You have to sort of slowly figure out your way through it, and yeah, the last depression was too long, and but I'm doing reasonably well. Like I get a bit nervous, like when is the next one going to hit me? Because I've been depression free for 2 years. Yeah, 2 years now. I've been depression free. And that's a pretty good run for me, I almost feel like I'm due for another depression. And, I cross fingers, I am doing a lot better. So hopefully I don't get to that place. Hopefully, I've worked on my strategies and, built up my support structures, and, trying not to stress too much about things that I can't change. Hopefully I've got all that stuff sorted, but it's hard to know when depression is going to decide to fuck with you. So, yeah, I do get a little bit worried, but cross fingers, I've reached a point of stability and equilibrium in my life. Cross fingers, nothing too crazy happens in my life to throw me off balance again. Hopefully, the last depression, I feel like I had to sort through a lot of issues. So I feel like maybe this time I'll be okay and I won't get depressed again. If your life works out, that's best antidepressant, yeah. I feel like I need more to happen in my life to really be more comfortable in that sense, though, because I am sort of still just pottering around, not making the most of my potential. It maybe helps that I figured out what art forms. Did I talk about this last time? So, I've decided I'm ditching regular art. I'm just going to do music, bonsai, and YouTube as my main creativity. Like occasionally dabble in other stuff maybe, but yeah, music, bonsai, and YouTube. I think those are the three things that I'm going to focus on. And so maybe if I can, sit down and work at those a bit more, maybe I'll eventually find something a bit more interesting to do with my life. I've already told there are some local metal groups in Sydney, and there was one guy, like, I posted on my Facebook something. I was intending to contact bands. I was like, hey, do any bands need some help, like with a door girl or a merch girl, because I'm like, how do I get myself to go back to gigs? If I'm helping a band and they're relying on me, then I have to go. So I was like thinking of that, but someone who's from a group where they like help people they organize get-togethers around metal or whatever, and they go to gigs together and so on. One of those guys got in touch, and I mentioned like I could do this door stuff, but I could do other stuff. Like eventually, when I get through my video backlog, maybe I could help out bands if they're doing DIY videos, because I have a powerful computer now. Maybe I could help them edit their music video or something. And this guy, they're doing videos for their like meetup group or whatever. It's just like at the moment I don't have the time for it because of the way life's not going to plan. But there's a potential for me to do video for other people. I don't assume for money, but like as an extra hobby to help me engage with the world a little bit more instead of just staying in my own little world. I need to get out there more. So I'm sort of thinking about those things, like how can I use music, bonsai, and YouTube? How could I use all those skills and experience and whatever to get somewhere better in the rest of my life, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then what? For money, I'm a little bit worried that my parents are trying to turn me into an accountant, because of like this finance job. You know, mum's like, you should do more there and all that, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would cope, because if it became a proper like accounting job, then I would have to go to offices, and then people would expect me to act a certain way and look a certain way, and I don't know that I could do that. It's working out as a casual thing where I'm working from home, but I don't think I could do more than that. It's very difficult figuring out what psychologically I could do, because in terms of like my abilities, I am good with numbers, but in terms of my psychology, there are some jobs that I just don't think are going to work out well for me, and it's tricky to navigate. It's frustrating. But you know, I'm trying not to plan my life out too much, and just trying to adapt to what comes my way, take opportunities as they come up. Speaking of, I have to, I posted some ads on Gumtree saying, look, I'm a vocalist, I'm available, here's what I'm looking for. And I also have a search alert set up, so I've searched for like metal in the musician and artist category in the Sydney area. But Gumtree, like they give you updates while your ad is running, but when the ad expires, they don't tell you, they don't send you an email saying, hey, your ad's expired. And then they also, with the search alerts, they just turn them off randomly after a certain amount of time, and they don't tell you anything. They don't say, by the way, you know, click this button to confirm you still want these search alerts. You know, seek.com, they're constantly sending me ads from my saved search, which I should probably get rid of because it hadn't been useful and it's not really the areas that I thought I wanted to be in. But yeah, Gumtree just deletes this stuff after a while, and you're like, surely for your business model, you'd want me to stay in the thing, you know? So tell me when my ad's expired so I can post a new one. Tell me when you're gonna, when you think I'm not interested in a thing, so I can confirm, yes, I am interested, and still get ads for all the things. Like, it's just the logic. Hey Gumtree, hire me as a consultant. I can fix one of the things that you're doing wrong in 5 seconds. I just did it. These are the things you need to change. Tell me when my ad expires, and stop turning off my search alerts. Maybe confirm with me first. There you go. I've fixed one of the shit things about your business. It's not that hard. You know, logic. You want me to stay on your platform. You don't want me to go off to Facebook groups and post all my ads there, which I do anyway. But you don't want me to focus there. You want me to stay connected to Gumtree, surely. Anyway, that was a little rant, a little outburst. It's harder to find places to find bands at the moment, because I used to... Any open mics coming up? Well, so usually I perform at the Townie, and usually I do Chicks with Pics, and I thought about doing that when my cousin comes to visit, because that's what I did last year when my other cousin visited. But the one who's coming to visit, she doesn't turn 18 until... I think until after she goes back home. So she can't come to the gigs. I'm pretty sure all the places, like especially, I'm pretty sure the Townie is over 18. They always check my ID before I go in. They always look at it like, oh, you're 31. You don't look 31. They don't say that, but I know when they're looking at my ID, they're like, what? And also, like, that was when I did have some colored hair. I was also depressed, I think, when I got that license photo taken. So they're eventually going to accuse me of having a fake ID. I just know it. What can I do about that? Not really anything, because also it's a 10-year license, not a 5-year. So it's going to be a while before I take a new photo, isn't it? Anyway, so I can't get her into the Townie. Also, this month they're doing like a Mardi Gras Fair Day after party as part of the event, and I don't really feel like I want to be involved in that. I just feel a bit uncomfortable about LGBT events. Like, I know technically I could fit in there with the asexual thing, but some LGBT don't think it counts, and then also I've never felt connected to the LGBT thing, and also Mardi Gras is very sexualized, which is the opposite of what I'm into. So yeah, I'm just like, I'm going to avoid that one. It's not for me, it's for other people. So yeah, I just was like, no, I'm not going to book in for that. But you know, at some point I should do more. But it's a problem. I'm having so much problem planning my year. Zero open mic in Japan. Oh my god. It's going to be a while before I go back to Japan. I'm going back in 2024. 2024, because that's when we're due to give up the old grave site So it's not an old grave site. I'm pretty sure it's just my grandparents, my Japanese grandparents. But see, so mum was the oldest. So had she stayed in Japan, it would have been her responsibility. And then I'm the oldest, so it would have been my responsibility. But of course, mum moved to Australia and I'm Australian now. Like, you know, yes, I'm half Japanese, but culturally, I'm mostly like, you know, I barely even speak Japanese and I'm not going to live in Japan. Yeah. I think the main Japanese things about my life are a couple of words that I didn't realize were Japanese when I was younger, like mikan. I asked a primary school teacher for a mikan and they're just like, what? Because I didn't know in English it was Mandarin. Anyway, and then, yeah, food related stuff like that, and my hanten and whatever. Anyway, so I'm going back to, we're giving up the gravesite because my aunt has been looking after it, but her kids aren't that interested in the traditional whatever, whereas my aunt is much more traditional. But because the kids aren't interested in maintaining the grave and they're expensive and you have to take care of them and wash them appropriately and all that. So, yeah, they've decided to give up the grave, and so I'm going there to clean it up because that's part of, like, I feel like it's part of my responsibility because it would have been become my responsibility. So yeah, 2024, I'm definitely going back to Japan then. So I'm just gonna make sure I have enough money for that. In the meantime, I don't know when I'll be back to Japan. I don't have any plans at present, and I need a reason to go somewhere. Like, the last time I went, the goal was to buy clothes. I thought I had a music project lined up, and I was like, okay, I need to get some clothes that will fit that. And that was a huge motivation to go for a month, try and up my language skills a bit. All this stuff is extra stuff, you know, going to interesting cafes, spending time with my family over there. But my goal was like, I'm going to buy clothes because I can't find them in Australia. I was not into the online shopping thing until Punk Rave Australia like gave me this stuff, and I'm like, oh, actually, it's not that hard. And the stuff's actually quite nice. Yeah, but so in the meantime, if I go to Japan, I need a reason. Japanese reality. Yeah, well, when I did go to Japan, I actually went to a gig, and yeah, it's done a bit differently. You have to buy a drink, and so I'm like, how do I even cash in my drink coupon? Because you buy it at the door, then you give it to someone, and yeah, interesting. I wasn't really into the bands, they weren't quite my style. I mean, I tried to find metal gigs on at the time, but yeah, because I don't really know what the scene's like, I kind of just guessed. And they were heavy, but not quite what I was into. But yeah, no, I don't really know much about Japan's music scene. And I don't think I would go there as a soloist. I would have to get bigger as a soloist here, and I don't think I have that kind of dedication just because I don't like my solo music enough. I like my most recent song, except for the transition. So if you've listened to my song The Truth, I need to get back to working on releasing that actually. But if you listen to it on the live clip that I've done, okay, so it's got that soft intro, and then all of a sudden I'm growling, and I feel like the transition is too jarring and it just doesn't sit right for me. But I can't think of any way. I don't know how to change it to make more sense to me. So like every song for me has some problem with it that I'm just like, I don't know, I don't feel like I'm good enough at this yet for what I want to be doing. So, and of course, like my first EP, Asexuality, I did that for art school, and I don't really want to make a fuss about the asexuality thing. I don't like the idea of that defining me. So, I'm reluctant to perform the songs that are more heavily... Oh, we're still live, but I'll continue. So, I don't want to perform the songs that are more heavily about asexuality. So the songs that I mostly perform is like You Won't, because that's about, like, yeah, you can fit it in the theme of asexuality, but the main theme is like, stop trying to change me. You know, this is how I am kind of thing. So for me, that's easier to reinterpret as a theme that I want to explore and remove it from the asexuality thing. But some of the other songs, like The Psychologist, is about a specific thing that happened to me. Catch-22 is about a specific criticism of asexuality that gets tiring. Navigating the Nightmare is about navigating a world where heaps of stuff is sexualized. Comrades is about how annoying aspects of the asexual community are, and you know, they're supposed to support you, but sometimes they don't, and they just cause trouble. So yeah, most of that EP I don't feel like performing because it's too heavily in that category of topics. Whereas I want to focus on things I'm actually interested in instead of things that I did because I knew uni would go for it, you know. Especially like art school. Art school tends to be more left-leaning, liberal kind of whatever. Liberal with a small L, not Liberal Party. The problem with being in Australia is like, which one do you mean? Yeah, and so at the time as well, you know, they had the whole same-sex marriage thing going on, and then once that plebiscite went through, then they had all this, I think it was like trans stuff and lots of rainbows and things, and I'm just like, that's the topic I go for if I want to impress the people here, you know. Yeah, but personally I was like, this is the last time I'm really going to explore this in a big way. I think I just want to move away now. Yeah, the asexual community, it's like a lot of the more extreme LGBT things. I mean, I guess some aspects of the asexual community would be fine, but I ended up around too many of those extremists where if you say one wrong thing, they will tear you to shreds. And yeah, I just don't want to be a part of something that toxic. So yeah, and then also the problem that the asexual community has that other LGBT communities don't have is asexuality is supposed to not be sex obsessed, but a lot of the questions would be to do with sex. And I'm like, and then also like you can't say asexuality without the word sexuality. So yeah, I just distance myself from that. So that's one of the reasons I'm not so into my solo project. And then also I have issues with the way I've composed it. I think You Won't is maybe the one that I have the least issues with. And it also has some Japanese in there, so it was fun to explore that. The Truth, I think, is more about something deeper within me, but the way I've done it musically, I feel like there's some issues there. But it's okay, so I performed that. And that's one of the reasons I did the Voices song at my last performance, because I wanted to get away from the rest of my EP. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do You Won't, I'm gonna do The Truth, I'm gonna do Voices. And then I still had extra time, and that's why I did Navigating the Nightmare. I hadn't practiced it at all, but I didn't fuck it up, so that's good. But yeah, I wasn't going to perform that. In the past, I was performing it just because it was one of the songs that had growls. So I was like, how do I decide what songs I want to perform? I'm going to perform the songs with growls. So before it was You Won't, The Truth, Navigating the Nightmare. But then I was like, yeah, no, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore because it's too much about this story, this asexuality. But yeah, it's my backup song if I need a fourth one. Because sometimes you know, things will run over time, and I wasn't sure how much time I had to perform everything. So yeah, I was originally just going to do 3 songs because I think previously that's what I did. But yeah, no, I had extra time. Anyway, so yeah, Japan. I really need to write more music that I enjoy and proud of and feel like singing, because, you know, the asexual stuff isn't stuff I want to express a lot, whereas some of the other songs, yeah, I do want to express that stuff still. So I need to write more music, but it's hard to sit down and do it. I mean, it doesn't help that life isn't going to plan at the moment. Like, I can make plans, but things just aren't working out at the moment. So I'm like, should I commit to doing another gig at this stage? Maybe not, because I'm just going to be playing the same songs all the time, and I need some variety. Yeah, and I'd really just rather join a metal band. So one of the things that trips me up is, you know, I could spend all this time writing my own music, but where I really want to be is metal. So should I be writing metal music in the hopes that I can bring it to a new band? But I also don't want to start my own band because I burnt out badly last time, and that's one of the contributing factors to my last depression, because I do too much. And it's like, how do I manage it all? New material, yes. Yeah, well, like, you know, I'll try. But another thing that trips me up is anytime I'm even vaguely talking to a band or like a guitarist about starting a band, then I'm like, my a part of me is sort of hopeful that that'll lead somewhere. And so I'm sort of like, should I start a new thing? What if they decide that we're going to do something? Then I'd have this half-finished thing because I'd be focusing on that. And so that trips me up. It's the same thing, like I've got to post more Gumtree ads, but I'm sort of like, at the moment I have been sort of talking to a band. I don't know how good my chances are, but because it's like the tiniest possibility, my brain is like, focus on that thing! So it's hard for me to sit down and post a new ad or start new music because I'm focused on this tiny glimmer of hope that I might join a band. Yeah, dealing with that side of my psychology. Yeah, so that's a tricky thing. But yeah, no, also like I've got so many videos still to edit. I've also got to do the punk rave edit, and then my cousin's coming. Shit, she's arriving tomorrow. Like, yeah, next week. No, she's arriving tomorrow. I've got to go to the airport to help pick her up. And so I'll be spending a lot of time with her because, you know, I only work 1 day a week. I do need my Thursday recovery, but like matching my working schedule with mum's working schedule and yeah, and then the boys all out all the day. So I will be pretty occupied. So I'm not actually going to get to do anything until the end of this month, and it's going to be a real scramble because then I have to film the rest of the other punk rave, and that one's, I've never filmed a Punk Rave Australia video on 2 separate days, so I've got to figure out how to edit them together to make sense. You know, I can't pretend that I filmed it all in 1 day because, you know, it's got dealing with the returns process. So yeah, how do I work that into the video is something I've been thinking about. So I'm kind of relieved that it didn't arrive today, because if I had to film it today, then I have to figure all this stuff out and stress over it and then hope in the edit that it all works. So I've got a bit more time to think about it, but yeah, I will be scrambling at the end. So it's probably not going to happen until March. And then, you know, with my new computer, right, it comes with an Xbox Game Pass or something. It's like free Xbox gaming on the computer for 3 months or something. I've got 180 days to redeem it, but I keep pushing it back. Like, I don't want to start it now because I don't have time to play any of this shit. So I keep pushing it back. But then also, part of me is like, okay, if you start this 3 months of gaming, you should actually use it. You can't just like let it go. So then am I going to be gaming for 3 months? Probably not, but I'd probably be gaming more than I would usually. And then I'm like, should I film that for YouTube? Should I like try all these games and show you guys how bad I am at being a noob at all these different games? You know, I could do that. And so I'm like, so at what point am I going to have time to do my own music? Because I also want to do covers. I want to do more covers because I feel like covers is a way to show my progress, or, you know, track my progress if I do the same songs a few years apart. It's also a way to show bands how I do stuff that's more metal, whereas if I do my own music, it doesn't sound like metal. So even though my vocals might be metal, I think it's harder for bands to imagine how that fits into their music. So I want to do more covers. And yeah, there's just too much shit, and I've got to show you my progress with my bonsai. There's this one bonsai I've been meaning to do like a little reveal of how it's worked out, and it's just like the weather hasn't been good, I've been too busy, too many people been home, blah blah blah. It's, how do I fit all this stuff in? At least I've kicked painting out though. No more stress painting, which means I free up that time. Last year what I was doing is for Patreon, every month I was releasing like some painting type thing. It didn't always turn out to be a painting, sometimes it was drawing, but like some kind of 2D art every month I had in my goodies, end of month goodies upload. I do put my own music in punk rave videos. I've started putting it in when I'm doing the twirl. So, you know, when I try it on and I do like, hey guys, let's do a twirl, and I do a 360 twirl, do a little bit of a close-up. I've started putting my music into punk rave videos. Yeah, usually the backing tracks though, so it doesn't have me singing because that's a bit distracting. Although, yeah, I can play with that. But yeah, no, got so much going on. But with the Patreon stuff, this year I'm not doing a monthly goodies thing because like I don't, you know, I did a poll on my Patreon, and you know everyone's fine with me being random chaos. So you know my patrons that really understand me in that sense, you know, I am random chaos. So I'm putting more, I think I'm putting more like behind the scenes video stuff up there at the moment. But yeah, I think last year, because I was trying to have a 2D artwork uploaded for Patreon every month alongside a few other things that I had uploaded and like a few other posts during the month. I think the painting stuff, like I'd get to the end of the month and be like, shit, I need to do my Patreon stuff, and then just focus on that instead of doing all the other things that I could be doing. And, you know, now that I've realized that I don't really enjoy painting that much, I can get rid of that. And then also with my patrons being okay with me not doing the monthly, like, specific upload kind of thing, posting more random content throughout the month instead of at the end of the month, yeah, I feel like there's less pressure there, which means I'll have more time to do fun stuff, assuming 2020 lets me get to it. It's been an odd month. It's been an odd year already for me. Just, you know, injuries and, you know, summer being as bad as summer being a bad combination with my computer. We've been looking into getting aircon. It's just like we had some guys come out to do a quote. One of the guys never got back to us with a quote. The other guys, we had a bit of a back and forth because I did my own calculations based on the air conditioners we have in other places and my own research on like choice and my own calculations based on what I know about the house. Instead of just the size of the room, you've got to take into account the different elements of your house. So sorry, I'm just getting cramp in my leg. So I'm gonna have to stretch that out. I need to take some Barocca or something. Shit, what time is it? Okay, it's 3 o'clock, so if I run off, you know it's because of family coming home. What was I saying? Shit, I lost my train of thought. Fucking cramp in my leg. What was I talking about? Why do I like this? Was I talking about Patreon? What was I talking about specific? Oh my god, someone remind me what I was just talking about. Wow. Real brain fart with my leg. Oh yeah, I don't enjoy. Yeah, I know, and no, I was going somewhere with all those words before my leg cramped up, so, and I don't remember exactly where I was going. Should go back and watch my own stream to figure it out. Patreon. 2020 being a bitch. Oh, the aircon. Yeah, no. So I figured out what air conditioner, like the specific model and like, you know, the power levels and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, we finally like got to something we wanted with these air conditioner guys. And then they're like, okay, we'll send you an invoice for like a deposit. But they took ages to get it to us. And we're like, what's going on? You know, they were so prompt. And then when it comes time for us to give them money, they were just hip slow. And I'm like, what kind of business doesn't want to get the money as fast as possible? So, you know, Mum was like, can you check if they're like, you know, having financial trouble or whatever? If you know, I don't know how I would find that out. But yeah, no, I think they were just slow for some reason. So in the meantime, we contacted another air conditioning company and they haven't come out yet, but they're going to come out and have a look. But what they've already said, based on what we've told them, is cheaper. So the other guys, by being slow, may have lost this job. Yeah, but, you know, we'll work it out. So we were going to try and get air conditioning faster. But now there's another unexpected thing, is these guys dropped the ball and we found some other guys who might do it better, cheaper. Also, the other guys, their reviews online look better. They seem like a bigger company with maybe more experience. So yeah, it's just like all these weird things happening in my life and not going to plan. I just feel like I can't plan my life at the moment. I don't know where I'm going with anything. Like, I think I just need to maybe not make plans, like make general goals, but not say when I'm going to do them. Because I was hoping by now I would have been doing more of the YouTube stuff that we talked about previously, and it just hasn't happened. That's just not how my life has worked out so far this year. So yeah, we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, no, the main thing that I would like for this year is to end up in a band. But that's not something I can force because it relies on other people to be on board on the same wavelength. And if I don't find that, then it's not going to happen. You know, if I wanted to, I've said before, sorry if I'm farting. I've said before, I think, that I would start a band if I found the right guitarist, but that just hasn't happened. You know, there's another guy I was talking to, but he turned out to be working with the guy who asked me to do that first Kill Switch cover from my recent, you know, and so that's why I actually started doing covers again, because that guy asked for it, but then he kind of ghosted me, and it's just like, you know, he originally didn't respond very quickly once I released the video, and then he said, oh, actually I'm joining a band with these other guys, and then, have I talked about this before? But then I saw his ad come up again, and so obviously whatever that was, if it was real, didn't happen. And I said, I'm still interested, and he never replied. And then someone tagged him under one of my shares of my, you know, I shared it on Facebook, and someone tagged him, and he didn't say anything. He just liked the friend's tag. So I suspect he either didn't like the cover or found some other reason to dislike me. But we were talking really well before that. Anyway, so he ghosted me, and this other guitarist they came across who seemed really nice, and I think, you know, I think he's probably not very involved in the decision-making process, so yeah, it turns out he's already working with this other dude, and the other dude decided to go with a singer in Newcastle, so that's going to be fun for the logistics of the band. You know, whatever, I can't do anything about that, so good luck to them. But yeah, no, that was the most promising guitarist I'd been talking to in a while. So, bit of a shame. Back to square one with that, because I do know a drummer and possibly a bassist who I'd like to work with. It's just that I don't think they're as keen on the writing side, and for me to write metal, I really need help with the guitars. I can write the bass and the drums to a basic level to be able to write the rest of the song, but if I don't have guitars, my guitar playing is shit. I can chug along in drop tuning, but then it all sounds the same, and I don't know, there's a lot I don't know about guitars and how to make them do particular sounds, and then if you try and do it in MIDI, I struggle to get it to sound like real guitars well enough to be able to get my mind into a state where I can keep writing the song. So yeah, that'd be the most control I could have over starting a new band that wasn't going to be another Rainbow Death Ray. Rainbow Death Ray was fun, but it was just meant to be for fun. It wasn't meant to become serious, and it wasn't meant to lead me to burnout, and it never became, like, if I had started Rainbow Death Ray with the intention of being a specific kind of band that I would really be into, it would have been a very different band, but it was just for fun band, and that's why it became what it was, which isn't really where I want to go with metal. So there's a lot of tricky stuff with trying to find a band, and it might not happen. But that's my biggest goal for the year, or biggest wish for the year, is to try and find a band. But if it doesn't happen, what can you do? In the meantime, you know, I can do covers on YouTube, which I think make waves as a solo artist. Yeah. But I think I also need to do something I enjoy, and I think I'm going to enjoy doing the covers more than I'm going to enjoy writing my own songs that I'm never happy with. At least with covers, I can be singing songs that I already like. You know, there's some that, like, you know, I'm not so into I'm Alive, but that was kind of fun to do and try it in 3 different voices. I do have Voices by Disturbed coming up. I actually filmed it before that live performance that I posted. It's just I haven't got around to syncing it up with the audio. Yeah. Pain in the butt. I'm sorry, I'm so slow with it all. But yeah, no, and the other thing about doing covers is it is a challenge to do other people's music, but that pushes me more vocally. I've been trying to do more stuff vocally. Speaking of, I should have a drink. Gotta keep those vocal cords hydrated. But like, I have been working, I feel like I'm still making progress with my vocals, and I've started trying to learn throat singing, and I'm actually making progress with that. So yeah, and if I'm doing covers, that forces me to try more with my voice. Whereas if I'm writing my own music, I worry that I'll slip into my habits a bit more. Like The Truth, I did use a new vocal technique and sort of push that partly out of necessity. It's a little bit too wordy for my usual growling, so I had to adapt my growling style, which turns out to be related to throat singing. Mind blown. So I'm improving that. I've also been working on my fry, which still sounds ridiculous, but you know, the more you practice, right? Maybe eventually I'll figure it out and it won't sound so stupid anymore and I might be able to make it useful. But if I only sing my own stuff and stay in my comfort zone, writing music for me that is easy to sing, I'm maybe not going to get so far. So I need to be brave with the covers, because I know people with covers, they have an expectation of what it should sound like based on what the original artist did. But it pushes me a bit more vocally, and then when I do join a band, I'll be much better placed. Like, I'll have done a lot more practice. I can't really afford to be seeing a singing teacher every week, and then in Sydney it's really hard to find a singing teacher who does the kind of stuff that I do. You know, there are people who claim they can teach screaming, but you know, I had that vegan guy who was just like, get angry. I'm like, that's not a safe way to scream. And he didn't know the difference between a major and a minor scale, so screw him. Yeah, and then he's telling me his vegan stories and whatever. I'm just like, I came here to learn singing. Anyway. Yeah, and then online lessons. I mean, the exchange rate is shit. There's one girl I'd like to get lessons from one day, but the exchange rate, because she's in the UK, it's just like, I can't afford that. I was really hopeful, but yeah, no, when I looked at it, I'm like, for one lesson, I can't afford that. So I have to do a lot of this stuff myself. And one of the ways that I think I can learn, apart from watching, like, there are a few good tutorials on YouTube. Apart from that, is just practicing, experimenting with, yeah, other people's songs and trying to work out my way of doing their song and pushing my technique a bit more. So I think that might be better than writing my own stuff. Of course, at some point I have things that I want to express, and then maybe I do need to write music, and I should try and keep the habit, but it's a bit harder to motivate myself to do my own music, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I'd rather find a band than do my own solo stuff. And I think the ranking preference, join a band, covers on YouTube, writing my own stuff. I think that's just where I'm at the moment. And I don't enjoy writing the music side of things. I find it frustrating because it doesn't come naturally to me. My brain is more about maths, and I suppose patterns. So, you know, maybe the patterns helps with music a bit, but I don't feel like I'm good enough at it. Yeah, no, it's tricky. It's tricky because it has been tough for me to get into music. Just because a lot of it doesn't come that naturally to me. But I do like singing enough to do that. Whereas, yeah, writing music. He had a tattoo on his shoulder saying he was vegan. I'm pretty sure it was shoulder. It was either his shoulder or his neck. There was a tattoo that was like vegan. You can't miss it. He didn't even need to tell you. It was right there. But, you know, he was using the vegan thing as an example of getting angry because, you know, he gets angry about animal-related stuff. And so he was telling me about how he bashed up this guy on the street who was walking a dog and he didn't like the way he was treating the dog or something. And I'm like, shouldn't you just call the police or the RSPCA or something? Like, that doesn't give you a free pass to bash up someone you don't know the story. I mean, I guess it depends on how bad the animal abuse was, but I was not impressed with that. Oh dear, dear. Yeah. I don't know. Oh, I'm getting pretty tired. What time is it? Okay, 3:15. I've been looking for a Fender 5-string bass. I pawned mine to buy a Christmas gift one year. And oh, that's really sweet. Yeah, I wanted to get a 5-string bass, but I ended up buying a 4-string because when I went to the shop and I was playing around on them, the 4-string just sounded nicer. Oh my god, I've never tried trumpet. I kind of want to try, but I've got too many instruments I can't play. you know, I had fantasies of playing bass. Actually, the bass has come in handy because Dave, my brother, he's a teacher. They do at his old school. They did school concerts, and so he got roped into playing bass. So I had to teach him the basics of bass, and yeah, he actually did really well. And then so like in the next time I had to teach him, he still remembered stuff. And so, you know, he never thought he could play an instrument, and I was able to teach him enough bass to work. Do you like the the what bass? It's just a normal bass. It's just a Yamaha, sort of red colored and just standard tuning, nothing fancy going on. Bass lines, yeah. Well, I think like it was easier for him because, you know, it's just one note at a time. You don't need to learn chords. Yeah, and so like I did simplify the bass lines for the songs. So I'd listen and be like, okay, what is something that's easy to play? And I don't need another instrument. You're keeping me in check. It's true, I need to stop. I've decided vocals is my instrument. Like, you know, I chucked painting out. I've also decided I'm not playing violin really. I think because of my jaw, because of the braces and all that, post braces, I think my jaw just has changed too much for me to play violin comfortably. Choose bass because of the chords. Oh yeah. I do have a guitar still. I've got 2 guitars. I should get rid of the other one because it's shit, but yeah, back up. Maybe I can make something out of it. Maybe I can grow a bonsai on it. A bonsai grown over a guitar. I don't know how I would put that in a pot, but, you know, maybe I can figure it out. One day if I want to do something really crazy. But yeah, no, I've decided vocals is my instrument. It's the one I have the most fun with. It's the one that I feel like I can express the most with. Yeah, and I am making progress. Sometimes when you look at growling tutorials, they're like, you have to start with throat singing, do this, but they don't really explain how to do it. Whereas there's this girl, another thing I want to do on YouTube is maybe like do, every now and then, do like a showcase of one of my favorite YouTubers. I don't know who you guys watch, but there's some that I'm, trumpet technique. Oh, yeah, like, it's surprising, hey, I never used to get that kind of, jaw pain playing violin, and I don't know, maybe it could be that my technique has gotten shit, but it could also be that things have changed enough, because I know like the way my mouth works is different. The thing is, I learned singing while all that was happening, whereas I learned violin when I was a kid mainly, and then kept it up, but the jaw has changed over time, and yeah. Yeah, oh my god, you guys. Yeah. I like the like, you know, it's 5-string, you can do effects and all that, but I'm just not good enough at it. And then, yeah, with the jaw pain, I can't practice for long enough to get good at it. Yeah. I would have to get one of those Viper violins that just strap to your chest, but then I can't headbang so easily, and I just want to focus on singing, and, you know, getting more of the audience interaction. One of the things that I did wrong with Rainbow Death Ray, I think, is having too much violin, because then you have to stop. Like, you know, I'm trying to rock out as a vocalist, and then there's like one part where you use the violin. There was one song where I was on the violin for almost the whole thing, because I was sharing vocals with the guitarist, and that was fine. But in the songs where I was just picking up the violin for a short bit, like, there's no point holding the violin the entire time. So I'd be singing, and then I'd stop. You know, I'd be rocking out, like, whatever. Then I'd stop. Pick up the violin, do the thing, stop, put down the violin, get back into singing and rocking out. And it just, like, my parents came to one show, and they were just like, yeah, my parents came to a show, and they're like, yeah, that point is where it sort of, like, lost a bit of energy. So, yeah, this is kind of late in Rainbow Death Ray as well, so, they didn't give me the feedback early enough, I suppose. But it was only meant to be for fun. Like, it went a lot further than it was meant to. So, yeah, and I've sort of, you know, thought about it a lot, and I'm like, yeah, it actually does make it harder. I should just be a vocalist, especially because that's what I prefer to do. What's going on? I was a music major playing trumpet, but I stopped playing because of pain from impacted wisdom. Oh, have you seen Andrew Bird? Is that the violinist? Andrew Bird? I mean, see. Oh, okay. Finally in the season. Yeah. I'm not too interested in watching other violinists, which is, I think, another problem. Like, I did violin in school because I wasn't allowed to play guitar at my school, and my friend played violin, so I think that's the main reason I really did it. And I didn't think that we could get a keyboard at home or piano or whatever. So I think I probably did violin for the wrong reasons, and yeah, I was never really interested in violinists. Whereas vocalists, I can get right into it, especially when I'm trying to work out, like, how did they make that sound? And then I'll spend a while trying to think about it, trying to research it and all that kind of stuff. I find that interesting. Like, vocals, it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I am making progress in, and a challenge that I find fun. And I think that's what you want in a challenge. Well, like, I think with practice, anyone could learn to sing, provided you weren't actually tone deaf. Like, people joke about being tone deaf, but there is a condition where people actually cannot hear the differences in pitch. For everyone else, though, I think with the right practice, everyone could learn to sing at least at a like basic, reasonable, in tune level, and then from there you can work on tone. But I know for a lot of people, like, it can be kind of daunting, because the instrument is you as well. If you're shy, that can be a barrier. I used to be very shy, so it's taken me a long time to get to where I am now. But I just wanted it that much, and it was that fun. The resonance of my voice in my head over my projected voice. Yeah, you get bone conduction. So what you think you sound like in your head is not what other people are hearing. And that's a very jarring thing, especially when you're recording. It's always weird to hear. Like, I used to record, back when we had an answering machine, I used to record the answering machine, and it was always an odd experience. I didn't really, I never thought I sounded that girly until I was listening to those. Have you heard yourself playing the violin? Yeah, no, I've heard myself playing violin. I've recorded myself, and I'm not that great at it. I'm better than a beginner, because beginners, teaching people violin is one of the worst instruments. I think the only one that's worse maybe is trumpet, especially teaching kids. That's what I hear anyway. So I can play like reasonably in tune, but I'm not very fast, not necessarily accurate, don't necessarily have the best tone. Especially vibrato took me a long time to learn. I didn't understand what my teacher was trying to explain to me in school. So the after school that a lot of people say you learn better when you're a kid, like with languages and instruments and so on, but I feel like I worked it out better when I was an adult, and my brain was like, oh, that's what you mean. Kind of a weird thing. I miss these live streams, so I'm gonna break over. Oh, okay, no worries. Yeah, you too. Thanks for dropping in. I'm sorry I keep doing live streams at bad times for some people. I did consider starting earlier today, but I wasn't sure when I would have the house to myself until now. I don't know how much longer I have. 3:20, so I only kicked out my mum and Dave until 3, but they're watching a movie, so I don't know exactly what time that finishes. But then also Mikey could come home. The traffic might be bad because it's been raining all day. A few areas have got a little bit of flooding, a few roads. So yeah, if I run away, which I always seem to do, I'm very sorry. It's just, family stuff. I feel a bit awkward when people are around and I'm trying to do YouTubey kind of things, because it is weird. Like, I'm sitting here, if the camera wasn't here, I would be sitting on my own talking to myself. So vibrato, Japanese scenes, especially anime music. I haven't listened to anime music in a long while. I used to sing Cruel Angel Thesis, the Neon Genesis Evangelion song. I wonder if I still remember it. Maybe I should do an update of that one day. I'd have to relearn it though. Sankoku na tenshi no yori. Is it yori or ten? I don't remember which one comes first. Shonen. And then whether I do it, which voice I do it in. Keyboards and synthesizer and instrument. I don't have to worry about the sound. Oh yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, no, but I've been focusing more on heavy vocals. I think because my voice is naturally girly, especially I sing quite high. And I tend to sing in that sort of mixed head voice rather than chest voice, which is more popular with pop and rock. So I think that's why, because my voice is like that, and what the music I like is more growly and raw. I think that's why I focus more on the heavy vocals. And so yeah, I've been learning throat singing. Bye, last work day of the week. Awesome, last work day of the week. Yeah, it's Friday in Australia, so for most people here. does mean my weekend's coming up, which means weekend family's around, gets really busy, and then yeah, my cousin visiting, that's going to be interesting. She's very different to my other cousin, personality wise, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how she goes with Australia, what she gets into, what she gets up to. But yeah, no, I think the growling helps. Oh my god, 5:30 in the morning is too early. Oh, I feel tired just thinking about that, but I have been getting up earlier. But yeah, no, I think the growling sort of helps offset the girliness on the other end of the spectrum. And yeah, learning the throat singing's been interesting. It takes a while. Like I haven't gotten to a point where I can go straight into it. Can't sleep at night. Oh, okay. But yeah, no, I don't think I can get into the throat singing. Like I can't just get into it. Like I can get into false call growl pretty easily because it's basically just the exasperated sigh, and then you add stuff like, you know, like I don't even need to warm up anymore. I'm just like, hey guys, this is my false chord voice. But with the more throat singing one, yeah, it takes me a while. Like, oh, what's her name? Aliki. She explained how to get into it in like the way that clicked for my voice. It's like you start kind of thing, but sometimes I put a bit too much air in it, so it doesn't quite work. And then you got to try and do different vowels. And I've played around with overtones, but I can't always get it yet. I need more practice. And then trying to do different pitches. I'm sitting down, so it's not so good. But how do I do that? Oh no, now I'm going to it. The other growl, so like my normal growl, if I add in more of that grit, which turns out to be related to throat singing, so I go for and it's really ugly. Whereas the other one's just like, oh, it's still kind of ugly. It's just ugly in a different way. But if I start from that, then I can get into the lower throat singing a bit better. I'm sorry if you're like tuning in and just like get to the weird shit straight away. How did I do it? I don't know, I can't do it now. No, it's not working for me. Then I've been working on fry some more. It still sounds so stupid. And like, then what song do I... Welcome to the God Show! God, I'm gonna laugh too much. It sounds so ridiculous. But I'm slowly making progress. You know, I haven't warmed up today, so that doesn't help. But and I don't warm up a lot. I've been very slack and very naughty and not really doing the vocals properly. But I'm still making progress anyway. Headphones. Oh, am I ruining your headphones? Oh my god. Yeah, no, on like Snapchat, I post a lot of my stupid vocal experiments. Which is interesting because then I can sort of see my progress as well, just like short clips of me making stupid noises. And yeah, and you know, my friends on Snapchat watching it. I don't really know what Snapchat is for, so that's what I use it for, is just to record short snippets of, you know, the weird noises I'm making. Yeah, otherwise, I don't understand Snapchat. And you know, people are always telling me to join these new things like what, TikTok and Twitch and whatever, and I'm just like, I'm too old, there's too many platforms now, I'm too old to join all of them, I don't understand. And like Twitch is mainly streaming, which is not the main thing that I do. I mainly make rambling videos. And so YouTube streaming is enough for me. I don't think I'd have the energy to deal with 2 different platforms. Yeah, and then TikTok, I don't understand that either. And someone convinced me to join Tumblr, which is the biggest waste of time. TikTok is very weird. Yeah, you know, I don't get it. And you could easily do the same stuff on other platforms if you wanted to. I mean, maybe it's not as easy actually. Like maybe TikTok helps you out with that, but it just, yeah, I don't get it. I think I'm just too old now. I'm slowly becoming a grandma. Um, Sometimes I wish I would just like hurry up and get grey hairs, because at least if your hair's already white, it's easier to dye it different colors, because you know you don't have to bleach quite so much out of it. Yeah, no. I think another thing, I might not shave my hair off if I can't find a bed. Maybe I'll do my hair just for me. But if I don't leave the house as much, it's sort of like who's gonna see my hair? Just me at home, my family, I guess occasionally YouTube. I should really go out more if I'm going to make that much effort on my appearance, you know. So yeah, I should at least work on getting out of the house and going to more gigs, especially the free gigs. There are some places that have a lot of free gigs at the moment. So yeah, get out more, get connected with the metal scene again. Maybe I'll meet people that way, because that's the one way that I haven't been trying to find people for a band. I've tried other online stuff. The Drum was this little newspaper. It's not running anymore. You used to be able to put free ads on it. They picked up on electric music stuff called Goa. There's stream on Twitch. She always plays Goa. Oh, okay. Yeah. I just don't have... Actually, you know, I kind of want to experiment with streaming from my computer, because, you know, my new computer is actually good. Haven't really worked out how to do that, and ideally I'd want to have a webcam as well so you can see me instead of just looking at what I'm doing. Because, you know, it has like those things specifically for recording games, I think. And I haven't got a microphone attached to my new computer either. I mean, I suppose I could attach my Pro Tools, no, what is it, my Mbox thing, if I got the right software and all that. Might be doable. It's just like, yeah, it's easier to attach it to... Oh, that's the problem, is I've only got a FireWire, I think. I think I've only got FireWire to my Mbox, and that's why I'm stuck with the Mac. Annoying. Maybe there's a way to get it onto USB or something, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do with all that. And then it's just easier to keep it connected to the one computer rather than having to change all the time, so. Yeah, no, at some point I might experiment with streaming gaming stuff, but I don't want to become a gamer. I think like I'd only do it for the 3 months of that Xbox thing, and then also like finish off my Free Space Let's Play, which I think I've managed to get onto my new computer, all my save files. Oh, thanks for helping me fix my computer with one of your videos. Damran started screaming at me and I had no clue to do. PS, you should totally sell your... Oh, thank you. I'm always happy when I find out that video has helped people, because I totally just made that for fun, thinking it'd just be like, hey guys, this is a thing that's annoying that happens to me. I'm gonna have a rant about it. Here's what I do. I didn't expect it to actually help people. And it seems to be like, I think a lot of people must be having that problem, because it's one of my most watched videos at the moment. And yeah, every now and then someone pops up and is like, hey, that really helped. I'm like, oh, I'm glad it did, because it's such an annoying problem. I haven't had that problem since that video though, so I must have fixed it really well. But yeah, no. So yeah, I'm glad that fixed it. You can go onto the Dell website, like if you get a different beep code, you just type in on the Dell website. I think for more modern computers, they have different beep codes, but for those older ones, like my old Dell, yeah, those beep codes, you might get a different one occasionally. And then also my brother, who has a different Dell computer, I think it's an Inspiron, he got a different issue. And I should have filmed it, but I wasn't thinking about it because I was just trying to help him. And he had to, one of his RAM chips was actually broken, so we had to go through a similar process to figure it out. But it didn't have a beep code. We had to do like the screen went all funny, and I had to run a diagnostics thing, and then it came up with a memory error, and that's how I figured out it was the RAM. But generally, the beep codes that help you out. So I think just sometimes it's hard to know exactly how to fix it. You're like, okay, I have a problem with the RAM, but what do I do? But yeah, with my brothers, we went through that process of, like, I got him to take them all out, same as I did in that video, and put them all back in, and it still didn't work. So then we did, you know, you take out a chip and see if it works without the chip, and then you swap them and see which one it works with. And yeah, we eventually realized it was one of the chips was broken. So we got some more chips, and he got some extra RAM, actually, and upgraded a little bit. You just have to make sure you get the right RAM because there's a few different types. And yeah, it worked. So that was really good. But now I've got my Alienware computer, which, oh my god, I still haven't shown you guys the unboxing. I filmed that like 2 months ago. Okay, I will try and get that at some point. Yeah, I've got to work on the Punk Rave Australia video first, but I will get you that unboxing. I've already done that video about the specs that I'm getting, so it's a really powerful computer and I'm really happy with it. I think if I was gonna, like, I really want the rest of my family to get solid state drives, I think, because I think that if they have any issues, I'm going to be like, guys, next computer, you have to get a solid state drive, because I'm usually the one who has to fix their computers. Not because I'm very technical, just because I know how to Google what's wrong with it. Yeah, and waiting for the computers to boot up now that I've experienced a solid state drive. Holy shit, it's so fast. Like, I turn on my new Alienware and like with the Dell, I would turn on the computer, go and get my tea, come back, and then log in and all that. This one, I turn it on and it's like almost straight away ready to go. And I'm like, what? And then also when I turn off the computer, right? So with the new screen, you press this button behind the screen and you hold it down to turn it off. But the computer turns off so fast that sometimes the screen will get confused about what I'm trying to do. So it won't turn off properly. So I have to, when I go and get the shutdown button up on the Alienware, okay, I hover my mouse above the shutdown, put my hand behind the monitor to press the button. I start pressing the button because you have to hold it down to turn it off. I start pressing the button, then I press shutdown, and then the screen goes off before the computer. If the screen doesn't turn off before the computer, it gets confused, and then you have to wait until it realizes it's not detecting anything from the computer, and then it goes into its own sleep mode, and then you can turn it off. I just want everything to go off at once. So yeah, I have to turn the screen off, and sometimes I don't get the timing right, so then I have to wait around for the screen to figure out what it's doing. It's just like, the computer's so fast now, I'm not used to it. Oh my god. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the Alienware. Turns out I also have a friend who works for Dell, you know, doing their maintenance and, you know, the extended service. So, you know, chances are, like, if I have a problem with that computer, it might be him coming to fix my computer, which is kind of funny. New computer too for the internet and stuff. Yeah, well, like, you obviously don't need to spend as much money as I did. I've been saving up for a while, knowing that I wanted to do YouTube stuff and knowing that I wanted to try hardcore programs and also having future-proofing in mind. But you could get away with so much less, especially if you just want to do the internet. I definitely recommend solid state drive, though. It's made a huge difference. I think that's the biggest... That and the graphics card, but the graphics card was one of the main bottlenecks on my old computer, because that was the main thing that I skimped on when I bought it. Everything else seemed to be working well, it's just anytime I was doing graphics. But yeah, otherwise, that 8-year-old computer was actually doing quite well still. It's just like, yeah, once you've experienced the solid state drive, you're like, why would I go back to the old hard drive? I do have a hard drive in my Alienware though. I put all like my long-term storage on there. My PC stopped the next day because I accidentally knocked it out of place. Had to replace RAM anyway because I only had 4 gigs. Now I can load into games and use more than one browser. Yeah! Yeah, no, definitely add more RAM. I mean, it depends on your computer how much you can add, but on my old Dell I had 12 gigabytes of RAM and that was more than enough for most things. Like these days when you buy a new computer, a lot of them only have 8 gigabytes of RAM anyway, and that's enough for most people. The most you'll get if you just go down to like a JB Hi-Fi, usually the most you'll see is 16 gigabytes. So I was like in between those two. And the processor was doing reasonably well. You know, I think it had hyperthreading. I think, is that where you have, yeah, no, it had that thing going on. The base speed was not too bad. I think the base speed, yeah, it was pretty comparable. It's just maybe the multitasking is not as great as today. But yeah, it was doing pretty well. It's just the graphics card really seemed like the main bottleneck. Whereas now, because I've done overkill, so I've got like what the 9900K processor and the RTX 2080 Ti graphics card. I've got 64 gigabytes of RAM, and I think they automatically overclocked it to 2800 megahertz. It's rated for 29 something, but it's currently running at 28 because I think technically to get those speeds you have to change like profiles and so on. So they've actually already set it higher than I was expecting it to run. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, and it's running really smoothly. I'm really happy with it. I haven't had any real problems. There's been one or two weird things that I've had to work out. You know, there's some things I'm not entirely sure how to use, but I don't know, like, I think might be a Windows 10 thing that I'm still getting used to. Because, yeah, so long on Windows 7. But then, yeah, there's some fun things about Windows 10 that I'm enjoying as well. I've also been using dark mode more. I think just, you know, getting a new computer that was already set up for dark mode kind of helped me make that transition. SSD is the way, totally. I've been using SSDs for years now for backups around all HD. Yeah. I'm definitely putting, like, especially longer term storage, like videos that I don't need anymore. I'm sticking them on the hard drive. I'm also sort of using the old Dell as like a storage. I haven't transferred everything over because the computer still works. If I really need a file, I can just boot it up, grab a USB stick. The old computer I've taken off the internet, but it doesn't need to be on the internet anymore because I've got the Alien. So yeah, but because like the Dell, it still works. And you know, if I really have to, I could possibly upgrade it to Windows 10 anyway, because it's still, Windows 10 is still free, I think. I upgraded my mum for free. You know, like you have to do it. There was a fly flying around and I was like, oh my God, I thought I'd knocked over my, just out of the corner of my eye, I thought I'd knocked over my drink. Maybe I'll just stick it down there. Yeah, no, like if I really need to, maybe one day I could upgrade my Dell to Windows 10 and then be able to use it again without worrying about security issues. But I don't really need it, so I just keep it offline with a few extra things on it as a backup and also to store files that I don't need right now. Yeah, I suppose there's probably a way I could network it just to my computer, my Alien, but I can't be bothered to fuck around with that stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with my computer at the moment. I've also still got my 10-year-old MacBook Pro for the music. Haven't turned it on in ages because it's too hot. The thing that the MacBook Pro, my music gear, and my Alien computer all give off a lot of heat. The Dell's the only one that I've never noticed a huge amount of heat coming from. Like, you know, you have to be using it quite a lot to really notice that. So yeah, with summer, I really need to get air conditioning, which I know isn't cheap, but we tend to run our air conditioner, like we've got one here. I now know the size of all our air conditioners. So we've got a 5 kilowatt, upstairs there's, in the little office, there's a 2.5 kilowatt, and then in the parents' room is a 3.5 kilowatt. And they're all kind of overkill for the spaces. When you buy air conditioning, apparently the companies tend to quote bigger than you actually need, which you kind of think, oh, more power, but on the other hand, it's not necessarily good for the machine because it's going through more cycles of cooling and then waiting and then cooling and then waiting, whereas if you just have it going constantly without going overkill, that's a better way. But we almost never use the air conditioning function. We usually use the dehumidifier function, which is a much more energy efficient way to cool the house, and it actually is quite a strong effect. Like, we actually experimented because we didn't realize that that was a 5 kilowatt, you know, really hardcore kind of, like, for this space you don't need a 5 kilowatt air conditioner. So like, I mean, mum makes up stuff like we planned this all along, but we worked on, like, can we have the door open into this other section of the house and cool that as well? Turns out we can. And then closed that, can we cool down the hallway and help cool some of the bedrooms down? And yeah, it actually made an impact. It's not perfect, but I was able to sleep in my room once we started experimenting with the air conditioner. And that's just on dehumidifier. That wasn't on air conditioning mode. Had we run it on air conditioning mode, as long as we play with the doors in the right way, we could potentially cool down a lot more of the house than we ever thought we could. Obviously going to cost more because you're doing more with it, but you know, that's insane. So we've kind of figured out how to use air conditioning in the meantime. It's not perfect though. Like, I think for my room, I probably want to get an air conditioner for that space, especially now that I have so much gear that gives off heat if I try and use it. And because I now work from home, yeah, you know, my bedroom is now also my workspace. So if I can't work in there, I mean, I do have the backup. I can go and use Dad's computer. But what if we both need to work from home that day? Then it becomes complicated. So yeah. But you know, yeah, no, dehumidifier. That's one way to use air conditioning without overdoing it. You'll have to check your manual though about how to do it. And sometimes I find, especially in the upstairs office where it gets more sun and the walls are thinner and all that, sometimes you have to run it in air conditioning mode at like, you know, the lowest you'd go is 22 degrees. Maybe run it on that with like a bit of a burst for a moment and then switch to the dehumidifier. And then after a while I'm like, oh shit, I got too cold. Yeah, no. So that's one of the ways that we'll try and get around how expensive air conditioning can be, is just, you know, run it on those more energy efficient modes. We're also, if we do go ahead and get air conditioning for other parts of the house, we're going to go for the most energy efficient one. So there's this one, I did research on choice. How much time do I have? I don't know. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, they have the Avanti Plus, the new Avanti Plus. The 2 kilowatt one has 7-star energy efficient for both heating and cooling. If you go to Choice, Choice has a guide on how to buy air conditioners, like what to look for. They also linked to a site you can use to help calculate what you need instead of the overkill that companies usually give you. So I think it's faireair.com.au, and it takes into account like what city you're in, where your windows are facing, what kind of walls you have, what kind of floor. I used a lot of that to help calculate, but also like take into account what I already know about the house, and like, you know, this is the less insulated part of the house and this is already too much. And then thinking about that. So use your brain a little bit if you're looking at air conditioning, but there are ways to get more energy efficiency, and you don't need to get these huge units that sometimes they recommend. So I don't know if that helps anyone, but if you were randomly thinking of air conditioning, yeah, new family project. Well, just playing with this one in this room, which is much more powerful than I realized. Yeah, you can actually do quite a lot. It's just like there were some really humid days in Sydney, and at the time we were only dehumidifying this room, and then you'd walk into the rest of the house and it was like walking into a swimming pool. It was just so gross. So of course I spent most of my time out here while that was going on. But yeah, no. And then, I can't show you because it's on my phone, which I'm using to stream, but I've got my little Dyson fan, and it monitors the air quality, the temperature, and the humidity. And when we opened up that door and closed different doors and tried to direct the air to my room, we turned on like bathroom fans and stuff to try and suck the air down that way. When we did that, when you look at the graph in the Dyson app, it actually does show the moment that the temperature starts to drop and the humidity starts to drop. It was really interesting to look at. I was like, oh shit, this actually works. Like, it's actually detecting what that machine, that air conditioner is doing. I was just like, why did we never try this before? I mean, I guess we never tried it before because we're conservative about how much money we're spending. But I think because it just got so bad that I was actually sleeping out here, we were like, what if we did try it? And then also, so there's a staircase in the middle of the hallway, and a lot of the hot air from upstairs was coming down that. Like, I know hot air rises, but there was a certain amount. You would walk past those stairs and you could feel the heat. Yeah, well, you know, we might as well try and work this stuff out, right? But yeah, so there's the heat you would walk past. But Dad's office is right above that staircase, so I closed off some doors upstairs and then turned on that air conditioning just for a bit and let that air sink downwards, and it was a noticeable difference. We could walk in the hallway and you would not feel that heat. So we cooled that down, and then of course you turn it off because you don't need it anymore if you close everything up right and, you know, try and work out how to keep the hot air from coming in as much as possible, like closing blinds and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we were able to cool a lot more of the house than we expected. Not to a huge degree because we were only using a dehumidifier, but it was so much more livable. What's that? Daisy the Mandalorian. With technology, life is micromanageable. Yeah, well, we had one guy trying to convince us to get ducted air conditioning. I wouldn't do that. I would get a split system or a multi-split, depending on your house, of course, but with ducted, especially going to different rooms where people need different amounts of air conditioning, no good. You make certain places too cold and certain places don't work. It's like when you go into an office building and some parts of the building are really hot and some parts are really cold. It's because of, like, they haven't got that ducted air conditioning right. And I mean, maybe it's an easier way to heat a large space, cool a large space, but for a house, nah. Allergic to dust and pollen, my mouth is starting to stumble over words because I've been online for so long. Dust and yeah, well, for dust and pollen, the little Dyson one's probably good because it's got a HEPA filter, whereas air conditioning only filters certain amounts of stuff. And, you know, you can get filters apparently, but they don't really work that well. So you want like a dedicated air purifier. which has been kind of helpful when Sydney had bushfire smoke blowing in, because you can smell it sometimes. It was, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so the Dyson thing I've got does that. I haven't had to change the air purifier since I got it. Like, they say it lasts a year, but the app is supposed to warn you when it's running out of life, and because I don't use it that much, it seems to be going. Air circulation. Yeah, well, it has a fan attached to it. Not the greatest, but draw a cartoon about your family being around. Yeah, I wonder when they're coming home. It's almost 4 o'clock. People are definitely due home. So, yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna have to run off. Yeah, no. Sometimes you can play with those things and work out what works best for your home. But yeah, ducted air conditioning. Oh my god, I think that's what we had at my old uni. Like at music school, I would get really cold because some of the rooms were freezing. Like my fingers were actually going purple. I had to, like, in the middle of summer, bring jumpers and gloves and shit because I was just dying of how cold it was in some rooms. Oh, Germany, no air conditioning, so I have a small air filter that works. Yeah. Well, yeah, no. I guess if you can track down like a Dyson fan and they have like the heating and cooling dual mode, like I thought it's pretty good. It's just, it doesn't cool enough in summer. In summer, it's just a fan. In winter, it actually gives out heat. But in summer, it's just a fan and an air purifier. And it's not cool enough. Once this house heats up, it's so hard to get it cold without air conditioning. Especially the bushfires didn't help because the air quality was bad. So usually in summer, what I would do is when the temperature gets lower at night, doesn't always happen, but most days it gets colder at night. So then I'd open up the whole house, get a breeze in. But because the air quality was shit, I couldn't do that. So yeah, it was sort of like, do I favor air quality or do I favor temperature? And I decided to favor air quality because, you know, being a singer, I need to be careful about my lungs as well. I'm probably a little bit over careful, but that's me. I get paranoid about stuff. Yeah, and I was just like, well, I can just sleep out here, you know. That's an easy thing to solve. Whereas once the house gets full of bushfire smoke, it's a bit harder to, you know, get all that out, purify it again. So, But yeah, anyway. Yeah, no, I do tend to be a bit paranoid. So, like, I don't drink or smoke. I wear earplugs even at acoustic gigs because they tend to turn those up too loud. Like acoustic, but they have amplification anyway, so tends to be too loud. I carry, was it close to your house? Oh no, the bushfires are miles away. I live in Sydney. Now there was there were a handful of suburbs in Sydney that had small fires, but they didn't really get that bad. I think maybe there was one in the southwest, but that's a long way, I think. I think the main bushfires were out in the Blue Mountains in terms of how close they were to Sydney. Blue Mountains. The Blue Mountains, like, sometimes people consider it the edge of Sydney, but you like to drive from the middle of Sydney, like Sydney CBDs, maybe 3 or 4 hours. 3 or 4 hours drive, so it's a long way, really. I think someone's home, so I'm going to have to wrap this up. But thank you everyone for joining me. I think we talked about a lot of stuff with a lot less pauses. And yeah, I'm sorry if I don't have a lot of videos coming out. I'm going to be so busy. Life is not going to plan. But we'll see how the rest of 2020 goes. See you guys.